I'm here today.
I'm here today.
I'm here today.
I'm here today.
I'm here today. Are you?
Are you?
Are you?
At DPS, attendance is important. That's why we're challenging all schools to increase and improve their daily attendance. So I ask again, we're here today. Are you?
Are you?
For Black History Month, we're talking to DPS principals to talk about how their school represents the people they're named after. This episode, we have Charity Adams. Welcome.
Hi, hello.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Carla Goins, and as you know, I'm the principal at Charity Adams Early Academy for Girls. I have been in the district for 30 years and the principal at Charity for 7. This is my 7th year at Charity Adams.
Who was Charity Adams and why was she important?
Charity Adams was the first African-American female to lead her battalion in World War II. That was very rare at that time, so she was a phenomenal leader.
What do students learn about Charity Adams in your building?
So my students learned that Charity, one, as I stated, was a leader. She fought for equal rights, and she was just a trailblazer. So students learn how to lead, how to empower themselves, how to speak up for what is wrong, and we are strong believers in sisterhoods at Charity.
As a principal, how do you try to carry on Charity's legacy?
So we try to carry on Charity's legacy, one, by empowering our young ladies, cultivating their unique potential, making sure that they know they have a voice, and to speak up when they see that things are not right, and to be activists.
How do you celebrate Charity Adams during Black History Month after your building?
So this year, with the movie Tyler Perry created coming out, we're celebrating her by doing a special tribute to Charity Adams, so it's gonna be really awesome. So the young ladies will do a skit from the movie, so we're really excited. It'll be next Friday, February 28th.
Why should students attend Charity Adams Early Girls Academy?
Students should attend Charity Adams Early Academy for Girls because it's a phenomenal school. It's an all-girls school, and again, as I stated, we're about sisterhood, empowerment, and just creating that environment where our young ladies are thinking about careers that haven't existed yet, so we're pushing them to be leaders. So it's just an exciting and very powerful experience just being at an all-girls school.
What makes your school special?
My school is special, one, because it's a single-gender, all-girls school, and it's the only one in the area, in the state, as a primary middle school, all-girls school. And then also, when you enter our school, it's just a very warm, welcoming environment. It's a community, and it's a great place to be and work.
We hear your commitment to learning, and we're here to extend the challenge. That's why we're asking every student, family, and staff member to be present and be engaged.
When we show up, we build a foundation here. And when we show up, we build a future.
I'm here today. I'm here today. I'm here today. I'm here today. We are here today!
We believe in the power of showing up.
So we're here today. Are you?
Are you?
He's right next to them. DB's right here next to them. Hey, everybody understand that? Let's go. Get to work. Get to work. Hey, get a break. All right, hey, hard work on 3. Hard work on me. Hard work on 3. 1, 2, 3. Hard! out of here.
Hello, my name is Marley, and this school is called Rufus H. Montessori School, and the show that you are watching is called Ask the Kindergarten. Ask the Kindergartner. Okay, so what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Miriam. What's your name? Dalton. Dalton? Yes. So, what's your favorite animal, Ashad? Lion. What's your favorite animal, Miriam? I like elephants. What's your favorite animal? A lion. What's your favorite cartoon, Ashad? Cartoon? Yes. All right, let's move on. What's your favorite cartoon? Super Kitties. Hey, why Super Kitties. Super Kitties. Why you? Ooh, I like that's that. Rude. What's your favorite? Spider-Man. Oh, right. What's your favorite comic book, boy? What's your favorite comic book? Spider-Man. What's your favorite comic book? Not a show. Okay. Comic book? Yes, I do that one. All right, what's your favorite comic book? I don't have one. What's your favorite comic book? I have. And that's perfectly fine, Miriam. I have. That's perfectly fine. I have a dinosaur one. Dinosaur? That's not a comic book. I don't like dinosaurs. Raise your hand. I don't have one. What's your favorite book if you don't have a comic book? A comic book? No, it's a book like those, not a comic book. No book. Okay. A Spider-Man one. What's your favorite book? Are you scared? No, you're scared. Is that the one that's right there? No, that's that one right there with the bunny and the bear. Oh, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. Okay, let's go outside, everybody. So let's move on. What's your favorite book? Dinosaur. Why does it always have to be dinosaurs? Because I like dinosaurs. What's your favorite food? No, no, I'm first. No, you're not. I get to choose who's first. I know you ain't meant to talk back to me, lady. Oh. I will call you old man if you don't stop calling me old man. Did you just call me old man? So, okay, let's move on. What's your favorite movie? Spider-Man. What's your favorite movie? Dinosaurs. Why do I always got the dinosaurs? Movie. Wait, there's nothing. Because I like dinosaurs. That's a cartoon. Because I like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are not a movie. Yes, they is. No, it isn't. Let's move on. Okay, I'm going downstairs. Thanks for watching As a Kindergartner. Make sure you subscribe.
This is our first ever DPS Cares Health and Wellness Fair. We have vendors from a lot of local agencies here. This event offers outreach for our families. We are trying to hook them up with different services in our community. We wanted to make sure parents got messages about wellness, so we were able to bring our guest speakers in. We wanted to make sure that they had access to some of the great things like the yoga and chair massages. And we definitely want to feed everyone when they come out. And we just want to show them how much Dayton Public loves them, loves their children, and cares about them and their health and their welfare. I think they're going to take home that it is okay to take care of yourself, and we have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of others, ways that they can take care of themselves, and ways that they can take care of their families. Everyone's saying how wonderful this has been. The kids are having a ball. Their faces are painted. They have great prizes. They're getting lots of good information. We had massage therapists come in. I've had multiple people say I got a chair massage, and I feel so good right now.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk to you about bus safety. Every day, thousands of Dayton Public School students ride the bus to and from school, and it's important to know how to stay safe. First things first, make sure to get to your bus stop at least 10 minutes early, and while you're waiting, stand in a safe spot away from the road. Once the bus arrives, go straight to your seat so the bus can start moving again. And remember, while you're on the bus, stay seated and keep the aisles and exits clear. Just like in a classroom, listen to the driver and follow their instructions. This includes no foul language, no sticking your arms or head out the windows, and no eating or drinking on the bus. Lastly, make sure you only get off the bus at your assigned stop, and be sure to walk home safely. Let's all work together to follow these rules and keep our bus rides safe for everyone. Thanks for listening, and stay safe, DPS.
Dr. B. She got that she getting up out of here. It is. That's that. I'll catch y'all later here. Yeah. That's fun. Oh, that is hilarious.
Everybody got their documents up?
Yeah.
You up? Mr. Scott, you got yours up?
I think.
Hang on a second.
You got your board agenda up, Mr. Scott? Mr. Scott up. Ms. Weeks in.
Now call to order this April Eighth. Review session, Madam Treasurer, may we have a roll call?
President Goodwin,
Here.
Dr. Bailey,
Here.
Mr. Lacey,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
I am here today.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Present.
Mr. Walker,
Present.
Ms. Wick.
Present.
7 present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, our mission is to inspire, educate, and empower. Our vision is to inspire, educate, and empower scholars for a lasting impact. And our purpose is to cultivate a supportive and engaging educational experience. Dr. Lawrence, can we have some district announcements before we get started?
Absolutely. The debate finals competition, thank you, Dr. Goodwin. The debate finals competition will be Saturday, April 12th at 8 o'clock at Stivers. I want to make a note that you stepped in and as a coach did a wonderful job taking Charity Adams all the way to the semifinals, so we appreciate you stepping
You are
in.
welcome. We were cheated, so I want you to and I filmed it, let you watch it. My girls were robbed, and I understand why people get a little heated when it comes to these competitions.
So Charity, Wagaman, great work, but we're looking at Stivers. Is it Stivers versus Stivers at the middle school level?
Wow, that it's a middle school with 2 teams,
Yes,
right?
so those are the debate finals competition, middle school and high school, April 12th, 8 o'clock a.m., starts at Stivers. If you have any questions, email Tierra McGee at DaytonPublic.com, or T McGee at
And
DaytonPublic.com.
Ponitz versus Belmont for the high school finals.
Did Belmont win last year?
No,
Belmont's going for-
Thurgood. They beat
Oh,
the
that's right,
champion.
Belmont, Thurgood. Okay, Belmont's got a chance for 2 out of 3.
Madam President,
Yes.
we forgot to ask if the student Senate representative was present.
Oh, go ahead.
And Wednesday, April 16th, Lucy May Wyatt Speech Contest at Wright Brothers Middle School. Starts at 6 o'clock. That's always packed and always great to come out to see.
Thank you. All right. Associate Business Manager, I believe we have our first presentation from you guys' department. All right, come on up.
Good evening.
What's up, Amber?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm Amber Whitmire, the Associate Director of Nutrition Services, and I'm here to go over our budget.
1 second before you get started.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there it's not opening on our end. But you go ahead and get started. We'll just catch up.
Okay. And I printed it. There we go. So, I'm missing a little piece of information, but I'm going to start off our budget request for payroll for 2026. We have 117.5 FTEs versus last year, which we had 115.5, which is an increase of 2. We added an additional truck driver and an additional nutrition services coordinator position into our budget for this coming year, which increased our salaries with benefits by 1.1 million. So here's our current staffing vacancies and fillings. We have the director position open. We have 3 of our 4 coordinators have positions filled. The production chef is vacant. We have 25 managers, 59.5 FTEs for our food service preparers, but 11.5 of those are currently vacant. We have a tech support, a food service technician. We have a program manager position that is currently vacant. Logistics coordinator and stock clerk, we have 2, and then 4 truck drivers. Next slide. here's our non-payroll budget. So for purchase services, we're requesting about $365,000 more dollars than we did last year. Is that number right? Oh, no. I feel like that sums off there. We did, last year, we had all the big projects added in, the renovations for the elementary and middle schools, as well as the high school projects are being added in. So that's why it's a little more this year versus next year. Supplies, we had an increase of 2.3 million due to rising costs of all of our food and equipment that we typically order on a regular basis. We are asking for a little more for equipment. We have a lot of depreciated equipment that we're replacing. We've tried to repair a lot of it, but some of it is just too far gone. We've done all we could with it. And then an increase for dues, fees, and other. Next slide, please. Thank you. So our mission is to support the students' well-being and academic success by providing balanced meals that meet USDA guidelines while addressing food insecurities through programs like Community Eligibility Program, or CEP. By implementing innovative meal solutions, the department creates a positive dining experience that helps students stay healthy, focused, and prepared for success. That's it.
Thank you. You got to the end and it opened for us. Yeah, okay. Like to open the floor, any questions? Mr. Lacy, I know you have a question because this is your favorite
So
part.
Is this your fund?
Yes.
Okay, so this is not, nothing out of general fund?
No, this is all nutrition services.
So we don't really have these line items in your fund, but, and later on in the agenda, don't we have a big,
Yes, like 5, yes. So the Broombach project, that is for the renovations of all the high schools. We got everything has went through purchasing. We're at the point where we've picked the contractor we're gonna use. The project, what they told us is there's not enough time for us to get everything designed and done, because we need it to be done over the summer. So we're going to take our time, get everything planned out, and the targeted goal is to have all 5 of the high schools, other than, not including Mountain Street, done. Summer. He's working on them now. EJ's done. I don't know if you guys have made it out there. It's absolutely adorable. He's working on Eastmont, and then we're gonna keep rolling nonstop. We should be at a steady pace where we're just rolling out designs for the.
and so how much is the grade school?
I believe total was a little over, it was like 2.2 million total.
And the high school's gonna be 6 million?
So we're replacing equipment, updating all of those things. So yeah, it's more because it's a ripping everything out and redesigning the full thing. Whereas the other project was more like making it cutesy, so it doesn't look so boring, just making it fun for the kids.
Okay. And then, I was looking it up, I guess DOGE, the DOGE, whatever that stands for, eliminated 2 federal grants for locally sourced food, but we don't use those?
Not currently. It was in my plan, and I'm kind of hoping that things change and we can go back to that. I think it also affects like the school gardens, which was something that we wanted to start touching on. So we're kind of just hoping things kind of go back to the way they were. But no, they don't affect us right now.
But we have used those grants in the past?
We haven't, no.
Oh.
No. It just was in my plan.
You were
of something.
planning to try to
Yeah, 'cause
use
I
them.
wanna work with more local vendors, so we just kind of have to pause on that right now.
Okay. All right, thank you, Madam President.
Mr. Walker?
Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. So my question is more so, your current unreserved balance is 22 million. So I'm curious on the addition now of this 1.6. Is that going into that budget, or what's the difference between the two?
So when I sat with Andrew, some of that budget is already encumbered, so I can only do what was unencumbered, which is why we had to set it the way we did. So while the 22 million is sitting there, a lot of that is already reserved. And
Okay.
I do anticipate, actually, there's gonna be more coming into the fund because we still have 3 months left of school where we get reimbursements for. But it should, with the big projects, it should kind of wind down. It's gonna look different at the end than it did last year.
Okay, do we know what that number is?
You will see it on the budget increase now. We are increasing her budget by 5 million for the update. And her fund is Fund 006. What she's saying is all the fund, what she's doing is from the Fund 006.
Okay.
And we are increasing it today by 5 million. So that 5 million, you will see it. Are you looking at the financials?
So I'm looking at the monthly financial from last month, and it currently shows the unreserved cash balance is 22 million. So we're adding 5 million to that balance?
We are, that unreserved, that will be less by 5 million. Because it's going to be encumbered, the 5 million. So whatever we have right now, it will be less by that 5 million.
Okay, so if that takes it down to 17 million,
Yes.
we're now increasing it again by 1 point whatever million.
The 1 point,
What did you ask for? Okay, I can come back to that. I'll ask that another time. So currently there are 15 open positions. And then out of those 15 open, you want 2 additional positions as well.
so those are already there.
Okay.
So I added them after we did the budget last year.
Okay.
They were added in, one was September, I'm not sure when exactly the truck driver came through.
So is there any way to look at those positions and decide if those are needed before increasing the budget to add the other positions?
Yeah, I was working with Andrew on some of that stuff.
Okay.
It just didn't make it here, but by the time we get to the end of the year, we'll have it all figured out. Because there were some other ones, like the production chef, we're gonna get rid of that position, but I put it in there because that's, where we were at the time.
Okay, thank you.
Is this the last question? Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Have you seen EJ?
I was there the day, but I did not actually go in, and I was right so close, but I'm gonna go back now that you said something.
I did see EJ.
It's nice. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Dr. Lawrence, you have a presentation, budget presentation from your team.
I do. Lead principal for secondary, Bashar Simmons is going to come up.
Is there a presentation on here for Mr. Simmons? No. Ms. Guerin? Okay.
Had a little computer crash. About 3 minutes before I had to walk out.
Hop around. I can sit up here and look at Leslie's screen. Chris?
Yes.
I understand.
So you know, if it's not loaded on the computer, I can't see that screen and I can't see that screen.
That's not good.
It's horrible. I just want you to know.
Let me put a request into our assistant business
Yeah,
manager.
it's
Hey,
awful.
assistant business manager. Our
Well, hop
individuals
up
in
on
the
the desk
corner
and look at
can't see
Leslie.
any of the screens when it's not loaded on our computer. We just want to make you guys aware that they need a way to be able to see things. In addition to the continued request from Ms. Wick, which I support, of redesigning this day is to be like the other one, so you can see people.
Just get rid of it all and let us get some little folding tables. We'll be all right.
Do like the old days?
Yeah. Sit down. It's rather pompous to be up here.
Back when we used to sit in a
For a
circle.
paper copy's fine.
Yes, that's,
Sit down.
okay. Give me 1 second. Are we able to reload yet, Ms. Guerin? Is it on our side?
It's gonna take a second to get on your site.
Now, if you break it, you buy it. Senior dues gonna increase.
Y'all need to get some of those clever boards,
You know.
He told you.
All right, Mr. Simmons, you can go ahead and get started, and we will catch up with you as we get it on our side too.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you. We'll get started with our secondary board presentation for today. Again, my name is Bashara Simmons. I'm the Executive Director for Secondary Education. All right, moving budget overview. Currently, for year 2026, fiscal year 2026, what's requested is total salaries we're requesting total salary of just over 42 million. And the total non-payroll is 127,000 for fiscal year 26. As we can see, that is an increase from fiscal year 25 because we're requesting additional long-term subs for all buildings. Staffing and payroll, our staffing and payroll for fiscal year 25 we had a total of 438 employees. As we can see, the breakdown here with the number of, not the number of employees, but the actual status and the job titles of those in our department. I'll give you a minute to go over the slide.
Can I ask you a question while we're on this one, since I
Yes.
don't have it? The staff numbers go down in 26, but the total salary goes up. Why is it, how do we decrease in staff but increase in salary?
We're decreasing in, I can't remember what the title is, but we're decreasing some areas, but we're asking for 18 additional long-term subs to support buildings.
So where would they be represented at if they're not FTEs?
Here, where it says staff, FTE 19, total salary, and then you have the.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, the increase, I'm sorry, that's the increase that's represented right there.
Okay, so it's at the bottom.
Yes.
But on that same thing, is this number, like the staff salary, is that with the resolution that the board passed for the pay of long-term subs?
I would have to research that and get back with you.
Okay.
Ask the treasurer.
What?
So when we passed the resolution for all long-term subs to be the one salary, is this number that, or is this the old salary number where they were on the different levels?
No. The salary of that.
Okay.
The current salary.
The MOU salary that we did?
Yes.
Okay.
One more question for you, because I know we've been actively trying to increase our certified teacher pool, but I also know that we have had a request from our schools to have building subs. Are these long-term subs reflecting that request of the building sub, or is this just general long-term subs?
I can say unequivocally it's building subs. Dr. Davis and her department have been saying to administrators, you no longer have the option to pick your really good long-term subs and bring them back as teachers. We're filling those with certified teachers, and then the really good long-term subs will then become building subs. That's the plan.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
A follow-up to that.
Yep.
You have another resolution on here for one building. Is that configured into this?
I can tell you right now that answer would be no. That those additional teachers, that 5,000 for math and science for STEM, right now, no, that is not configured into that. I have to get back with you on where we put that, or if we add it here or somewhere else, but no, that's not there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. No, it is not. I can tell you that number is probably 8 if we fill all those math and science positions there. So that's another $40,000.
Okay.
Next. Okay. This is our non-payroll requests. These, as you can see, there's a significant increase here for purchase services. We're going from 20,000 to 117,000. That's because the graduation ceremony fees were moved into under my budget for this year, for next year. So this is just an example of the things that we utilize our funds for non-payroll requests.
What are we paying $96,000 for graduation fees?
University of Dayton rental.
No, not 96,000. That's an additional, that's an added expense for next year.
Right, so you went from 20,000 to an increase of 96,000.
Mm-hmm. That's not the only expense there. I'm just saying that's
Okay.
what contributed to that going up higher.
Okay, so I guess I'm confused on the purchase service for secondary schools. So is that coming out of the academic office budget if it's benefiting secondary schools and not secondary school budget?
So Ms. Sheehy's office, the CAO, and his are different. Like, he has his own fund there. So if he wants to send people away for professional development or his own professional development, he's currently in the professional development cohort right now, Ms. Spurlock and Ms. Dooley out of Nashville, where they have principal supervision coaching. So that comes out of their budget. So there are other things that you have the flexibility to do with that money.
So that includes consultants, professional development, and in that line item, you have graduation as well.
So outside of your actual secondary schools staff, your actual budget is only $127,000.
Correct.
Yeah, that's normal. They typically don't have a lot. The chiefs typically don't have a lot of money. Most of that resides with the chief academic officer.
Spurlock. Never mind. That elementary budget is woo.
We use the word only. Maybe we need more money. All right. Next. All right. So the impact. The proposed secondary education budget request is vital for supporting a high-quality learning environment, which directly contributes to our organizational success. This investment will improve resources and infrastructure to enhance the learning experience for all students, support teacher development, programs to ensure high standards of instruction, and expand extracurricular opportunities to promote well-rounded student growth. That is the end of my presentation, unless you have more questions. I appreciate and thank you for the time.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions from the
Madam President?
Go ahead, Mr. Lacy.
Go back, if you could go back to the purchase services. I didn't really hear exactly what you said. Were you saying that it was, that the 96,000 was paid for by another fund previously?
No. What I was saying is there was more to it than just the graduation fees and things like that. You had professional development, consultants, and PD for principals and assistant principals.
Okay, so I guess I don't understand the reason for the increase.
The reason for the increase?
Yeah, you may do with 20,000 this year, and you need 96,000 more next year.
Right. Once again, moving the graduation fees under my budget.
Oh, so it was paid for by something else in the previous. So these are things.
Oh, yes,
the 96,000
yes.
is something that was paid for.
I'm sorry.
Under someone else's line item.
Yes.
What other line item was this? So.
You said what other was it?
Yeah,
I would have to research that.
It was several of them or something like that?
I would have to research that and get back with you and let you know where it came from.
Okay.
Dr. Lawrence cut on his mic, so I'm gonna just call him out so he can hop in for his
I was going to say that because we separated college and career readiness, that entire division is now run by Chief Dooley. There are some.
Okay,
yes.
so I missed that whole explanation.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just get the update of the transfers sent to us? I'm not sure if it's for you, it's more for Dr. Lawrence. of where funds are, where they were last year in the budget versus where they're going, so we can just see kind of that transfer of where it came from and where it's going?
Sure, I think that's Andrew, but I can work on that.
You want to talk into the mic so the people at home can hear you.
Sure, I will work closely with the budget director, Andrew, and we can get that to you.
Anything else, Mr. Lacy?
That's fine. Huh?
Any other questions?
No, I don't.
Mr. Walker?
So looking at the staffing request, so okay, there's 3 dean of students. So I guess I'll wait. I'll ask that offline.
I can speak to a little bit now. Would you like?
Well, it was, yeah, more so the dean of student, like, what is the goal here? And as well as I see in school, and I'm thinking that's in school suspension pairs, but again, what is the goal there? Is that currently working? We've had this discussion before, and what's actually changed with this?
We currently have 2. We're not necessarily planning, that's in there now. As we get through staffing right now, I don't think we're gonna have 3. I think we're probably planning on having 1 possibly at the alternative school, because we don't know how many students we're gonna start out with there. We don't know that we wanna have a full-time principal there. So that's a buffer for the alternative school, dean. And then we currently have 1 at Stivers. Based on some recent events, we wanna keep that team intact. And so we wanna keep that dean there as that dean works toward becoming a certified principal. And there's 1 at Wagman, and I can speak to all that a bit later.
That's why I said offline.
Yeah. But I want to say that about the alternative
Yeah,
school too.
okay.
That's where the extra 1 is.
Okay, and then the other part is the in-school para situation. Like, the goal, is that philosophy working with in-school suspension? What is the goal here?
I can say to you unequivocally, it was not working. Our chief academic officer, I asked her to take a look at it probably in November, December. She did what she does, took teams out, and came back and said, hey, listen, we have to revamp this and do some things drastically different than how in-school suspension was working. And so with the pending approval, we've already been directed to do it, but we're moving forward with the alternative school. But with you all approving that today, we have some plans that may eliminate the need for in-school suspension totally at the secondary level.
Okay, and then lastly, I just want to get this right. So we have 6 high schools.
7, counting Mount Street. But yeah.
Okay, so count Mount Street, and then there's 3 standalone middle schools, right? Okay, so that's 10. But on here it says 11 principals. So is that the alternative school one, or if you don't count Mount Street, like, I'm just curious on where the 11 comes in at.
I counted Mount Street.
Okay, got it.
We count Mount Street.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you for that presentation, but don't go too far, because it's time for you to give us an academic insight. Might as well get it while you're still up here. What you got for us today?
Academic insight. Thought I was going to sit down.
No, Ms. Spurlock is next too. Come on, share some good news with us. What's happening in the district?
We got some really good news, some really good things going on.
At the, as you like to say for the viewers, this is at the secondary level for the viewers.
Secondary level.
Secondary
This is
level.
7 through 12.
7 through
I wrote
12.
them all down, so I have to now switch gears and get to them.
It's a lot of pages you're flipping through right there.
Take a lot of notes.
You need to be like Board Member Reiner and get you that rocket book.
I take a lot of notes.
Never mind, don't be like her.
Problem is, just look for the empty page and I can't find what I'm looking for. But I definitely wrote down a lot of good news.
You want Ms. Spurlock to come up while you
Yes,
find?
Ms. Spurlock, come on up.
She right behind you. Got you.
Right behind. She got you.
Get out the way.
She got you.
She got you. So into elementary.
So we are so proud to announce the last of our elementary schools, Louise Troy, Kemp, Eastmont, and International, have been visited by Step Up to Quality to determine their ranking as a preschool program. Previously, there were star ratings in the state of Ohio, but now programs are rated by gold, silver, or bronze awards. We are proud to announce that all 17 of our school buildings with preschool programming have been rated as gold award programs. We know that children have approximately 1,892 days from birth until school starts, and every day matters. It is important for us to have quality programming for our students to develop their self-confidence, social emotional skills, and the love of learning. The Gold Award rating means that all of our programs have met or exceeded the expectations of the Ohio Department of Children and Youth.
Thank you. Go ahead and tell people how they can enroll their lovely children in this
Oh,
program.
sure. So you can go to the Dayton Public Schools website and schedule a time for you to come down individually and have your child enrolled with our preschool department. Currently, we have 2 enrollment specialists. Hopefully, we'll have 2 more so that we can increase our daily appointments from 28 to double that. So think about that as you approve tonight.
And what age? Let them know what age that we start them on.
Oh, we start at 3 years old. So
And the
3-year-olds
best-
and 4-year-olds.
Best part, what does it cost people to be in these programs?
It is free. If you look on the website for Preschool Promise, you can look at surrounding areas and how much they charge, but ours is free.
Say
to
that one
our-
more time so they hear it again.
Absolutely. It is free for our Dayton Public Schools students and families. I have a few more announcements. Can I? Okay. Westwood Elementary has truly embraced restorative practices and a social-emotional learning focus. They have drastically decreased suspensions from 600 to only 2 this school year. A positive culture has embraced the students, the staff, and the families of Westwood with a focus on instruction. Kaiser Elementary had Dayton Contemporary Dance Company deliver an engaging presentation for students in grades K through 6. They are hoping to have student dance presentations at their next international fair, which is coming up very soon. Louise Troy Elementary students had the opportunity to learn and showcase their talents by performing in an orchestra performance, which is very new for Louise Troy. In preparation for OST, which began this week, elementary school students geared up with academic prep rallies, parent events to create encouragement notes for their students, clap-in celebrations, and overall support by parents, staff, and community partners, because we want our students to know that we believe in them and encourage them to do their very best and take their time to show what they know on the OST. Bellhaven, in preparation for OST, held a parent collaborative event that was called Collaborating for Success to support student learning and prepare for OST. They had an amazing turnout and really great reviews on their survey. All elementary buildings have held their building level Lucia May Wyatt speech contest and building winners, and I've heard a lot of my principals say that there's a lot of original pieces. We'll proceed to the district contest on April 16th. Elementary students are getting ready for our final intramural event, Spring Track, the first week in May. And this is an exciting one, in comparing this week from November 2024 to, April 2024 to April 2025, there has been an increase of 412 elementary students to Dayton Public Schools. That is a whole school building. And our final 2 entire elementary buildings, Kemp and Bellhaven, all of their academic staff and administration have completed all of the Science of Reading course requirements, and there's a lot, that are actually not due till June 30th. We also have several other buildings that are very close to 100% completion. We are very proud of our elementary school buildings, staff, and students.
Thank you. Mr. Walker has comments for you.
Chief Spurlock, so a question for you and then a question for the treasurer. Has preschool begun to look at House Bill 114 and how that may affect?
Absolutely. We are looking at that from a couple different perspectives, and we're going to have an update for you at the retreat. We know that there's concerning and a projected loss, but we are looking at how can we get qualified to be the first choice for all of our students.
Thank you. And then to the treasurer, I just want to clarify something. The city of Dayton passed levy for preschool. The district gets no contribution from that, correct?
Lately, no.
Okay, thank you.
All right, appreciate you. Thank you. Anyone else have comments that they wanted to add? Thank you. All right, Mr. Simmons, back to you.
All right, I'll be very brief. I'll start with EJ Brown has 14 students who've applied for the Young Scholars Program, and it's in progress. They have 2 College Promise recipients, and if you haven't seen it, The cafeteria redesign is something else there. It's very nice. It's the decor. The nutrition services guys did a great job. It's nice, very nice. Wright Brothers, they also have 2 College Promise recipients, and they have several students who have the law and leadership applications in progress, and then we're moving to international schools. They have all of their school links completed as a building and have participated in multiple career field trips. That's huge for the international school.
Thank you. I'm a little upset that we were at E.J. Brown together and you knew that that gym was right there. And you didn't say, just look around
look
the
at the
corner.
wall. It was right
We
there.
were right there.
Hey, it's a great design. I love it.
Any comments for Mr. Simmons, anyone? All right, thank you. Dr. Lawrence, your first, hearing of, are there any bargaining units here to speak tonight? All right, seeing none, Madam Treasurer, do we have any individual signed up to speak from the public?
Yes.
Give me 1 second. Parliamentarian Walker, can you please get your timer? Please limit remarks to 3 minutes. It is inappropriate to address any matter involving pending disputes, grievances under a labor agreement, disciplinary actions involving an employer or a student, ongoing labor negotiations, concerns, or matters that have already been settled in, or any matter which, because of its nature, is deemed appropriate to be discussed in executive session. The purpose of the public hearing portion of the meeting is for members of the public to express viewpoints and public concerns. I'm not sure if the clock is going, but Mr. Walker will let you know when your 3 minutes are up. Our first speaker.
Daniel Blocker. Okay.
Well, thank you for coming, you know? All right, our next speaker.
Angela Bailey.
Hello, I'm Angela Bailey. My address is 348 Park Drive, Dayton. Madam President, Dr. President, how do you say that?
Whichever you go, it's fine.
And esteemed members of the board, Dr. Lawrence, and the dedicated DPS staff present this evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak and advocate on behalf of children and families in our community. First and foremost, on behalf of Stivers Parent Association and myself, we extend our deepest condolences to the family, teachers, and friends of Alfred Hill. We cannot begin to comprehend the pain and loss. Please know that we stand with you in grief and solidarity. We are committed to advocating within our community across the state to ensure the safety of every student in our Dayton Public School family. We await guidance on how we may support efforts and create meaningful change so that such a tragedy will never occur again. As the board chair of our Stivers Parent Association, I would like to bring your attention to an ongoing concern of many parents: the lack of consistent coverage for staffing for our adjunct artist-led classes throughout the year. We continue to receive questions and concerns from students and parents regarding classes being canceled or merged with others, especially those that are central to our school's magnet art focuses. Courses like sound studio and graphic design are not extracurricular. They are integral to our students' artistic development and are crucial to pursuing post-secondary careers in education in the arts. It makes them college ready. For our seniors in both musical and visual art magnets, these classes are vital preparation for college applications and professional opportunities. They reflect the unique high-caliber arts education that Stivers is known for. Additionally, I would like to respectfully request improved communication and coordination with the scheduling of external use for our school building. Several key events have been in fact impacted by district scheduling conflicts, requiring us to cancel, reschedule, or significantly modify plans. For example, during our recent all-grade auditions just this past Saturday, it was crazy. An essential part of the program, we had to relocate to the cafeteria due to gym unavailability. Staff, parents, and parent volunteers worked tirelessly to register, host, and adjudicate over 320 students in the space, and it was not ideal. And just think about most of those students had at least one parent. Some of them had two and siblings. So we were quite busy. It was fun, but a little chaotic. We're used to it. We're creative. We would just like for some consideration to be made in that. Similarly, this week we have the musical Seussical. I will refrain from any rhyming. It had to be rescheduled from Friday to Thursday. If you've ever been in theater, Tech Week is very, very, very stressful. And this is theater, so very dramatic. So cutting into that makes a big difference. Okay. Furthermore, our annual photography auction was the largest fundraiser, and Photography Magnet had to be canceled. This event funds scholarships, provides transformative opportunities for many students. The loss at this event was deeply felt. While I understand the district calendar is complex, and I do not envy you guys for having to coordinate all of that, I will trust that with improved communication, we can work together to avoid such conflicts and better support the incredible work happening at Stivers and throughout DPS. If you ever walked into the halls of Stivers, you've seen it. Our kids are truly magical. Their passion, creativity, and dedication are unmistakable. We are so grateful for the ongoing support and exceptional school for the artistic and creative students.
That was your 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. That part I was just thanking you guys and your support. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. I will say, I asked Dr. Lawrence if you can look into the adjunct, as was mentioned there, and Board Member Reiner, which is our board member who is assigned to Stivers this year, if you can look into the other issues addressed there and bring it back to the board, that'd be great. Thank you. Our next speaker.
Nicole Reisen. Nicole Reisen.
Our next
Maria Carpenter.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence, Dr. Goodwine, and the other members of the board for allowing me to speak today. My name is Bria Carpenter. I stay at 1430 Chadwick Drive, 45406, which is the Dayton Public District. I'm a high school senior at Stivers School for the Arts. Today I want to talk about 2 critical classes that are missing from our school, classes that could change the lives of students. First, I'd like to talk about musicianship. This class teaches students how to properly play the piano and sight read music. For those who are not familiar with sight reading is the ability to read and perform music at first sight. It's a fundamental skill for any musician. Right now, many of us are expected to perform at high level without being taught the basics. We have talent and passion, but we're lacking the tools. I took musicianship earlier in my high school career, and I am now the women's and chorale choirs class president. And as I work with the other students, lots of them struggle with sight reading, which is important for the Ohio Music Education Association competition that we compete in every year. Next is the recording studio class, a space where students could learn how to record, mix, and produce music. This isn't just about having fun with microphones and headphones. This is about preparing for the real world. Recording is essential for college submissions, auditions, and art competitions. We need the classes for submitting professional quality recordings for scholarships and applications. While we're trying to make do with what we have, it's not a level playing field. As a high school singer, I felt the impact of not having these classes. I've had to help others with sight reading and recording important music on low quality phones and laptops. I don't want others to miss opportunities simply because they don't have the training or access to the right equipment. We have so much potential at Stivers, so many talented students who want to pursue music, not just as a hobby, but as a career. But without the proper education and support, we're being held back. Bringing back musicianship and recording studio wouldn't just benefit a few students, it would uplift our entire music department. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll consider how important these classes are for young artists who walk through the Stivers halls.
Thank you for coming out. And we're definitely going to follow up with Board Member Reiner and myself on.
Daniel Blacker. Daniel. Okay. That concludes tonight's speakers.
Thank you all for coming out. Definitely always love when we get student advocacy out here, and our team will be following up on what was kind of addressed today. We appreciate you.
I think there was one more. He didn't know to do. He had a form to go.
Would you like to speak? Come on up. give you 3 minutes. Say your name and address, and we'll get you going.
Greetings, everybody. My name
Greetings.
is Raymond King. I reside in now Fairborn, Ohio, 85 Old Yellow Springs Road, Apartment E. It's my son Zaman. I'm a father, so gotta always have him. But I came by to openly express a viewpoint as a community leader and as a former Stuyvesant graduate myself, class of 2021. I noticed there was something that transpired in our city that I think obviously everybody is aware of what had maybe transpired, of course, academically in our athletics department. But I think as a yeah, what happened? You pulled the cover up. I think something that I would like to bring to our attention is something that we may not be considering, and that is the sacrifice that we are kind of sacrificing our academics at the expense of athletics. One thing I do notice, and as a former student athlete myself, coming from an athletic family, is that GPA requirements are something that are actually very serious. And one of the things that we kind of played into, coming from a previous school district, I'm not from Dayton, I'm from Elyria, Ohio. And one thing that I learned as a athletic student is that sometimes GPAs actually do play into the behavioral side of things that can transpire into our athletic situations, such as games. One thing that we do have to take in major consideration is the environment and where our students do come from. Yes, I am talking about the Saturday big fight, if anybody hasn't caught on to what I'm talking to yet. But one thing I've thought about before coming here is what we are actually kind of allowing to come into play before we actually can put a halt to some things. If I can just kind of cut the field, as my father would say, he's a preacher, so please forgive me for using certain analogies. But I think one thing that could benefit us all, Dr. Lawrence, Dr. Goodwine, nice to finally meet you. You actually know my father, ironically, Pastor Cunningham. But one thing I would like to suggest to the board in these, forgive me, I'm kind of nervous with what I want to imply, but I think one thing that I would like to suggest is a system that perhaps allows safety measures for certain students to be able to enter and to be able to apply for athletics, to be able to be a student. I think one thing that can change is raising the GPA requirement. Yes, there may be something that can alter, the options of how talented of students that are coming in, but like Coach Carter said, you're a student first. And one of the things that I obviously can put together is that oftentimes we have students that have low GPAs, often have bad behavior issues. And what it seems like is we may be rewarding bad behavior with a freedom to be able to be an athlete. But in return, if we're going to move these students up into a college world where colleges are expecting them to be at a par such as a 2.5 or higher, or if we were looking at a football school, something as specific as Notre Dame requires a 3.7 GPA. Some of our best high school athletic students in football would not even be able to apply because of the simpleness of the low requirement that we've been able to withhold over their heads for about years. So not only just that, but even the students that you allow to your building.
3 minutes.
2 minutes.
That was 3 minutes.
Oh, that was 3?
Yeah.
Yikes.
You have any closing? I'll give you.
Yeah, thank you. But
30 seconds. You got 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Closing that to our students, what I would suggest is this. Creating an ID system with your students. Contacting them with your IDs as they enter in the games. Have somebody with a computer system, such as this young lady over here that gave my young man Cheetos. Allowing them to become into an ID system. You can scan their system in the same way that police pull up your IDs and pull up all your registered histories, the same way you can be able to pull up the GPAs in their registered behavioral history. Allowing them access into the building based upon their GPA requirements and behaviors, such as students being able to come into perform. Not only raises your GPA as students and your academic success, but it also gives them something to challenge themselves for, not only academically, but now you got something to work for, and you don't just have to fail in order to be an athletic star.
So thank you. I will tell you this, we do have that in place already. It was not in place on that day, but I want to invite you to join our Athletic Council Advisory Committee, because a lot of the stuff you're talking about are things that you're actively working through constantly. And I would love for you as an alumni to see kind of what we have been doing over the last 3 years. And most of the stuff you're saying is things that we are actively tackling. So I want to say for that one, I'm going to ask Ms. Guerin if she could get your contact information so we can invite you to that forum, because that is exactly where you would want to be to not only share those ideas, but help us as we continue to work through it. Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
I just want to add to it, the athletes were not the ones involved in the situation. So their GPA and the state of Ohio athletics as a whole has no GPA requirement for athletes. So it's not just a DPS thing, that's statewide. And I say that as an official who officiates across the state. So.
So before you leave, even though we have your address, because you said it on the record, we want to get some contact information from you and an email address, because we definitely would love to have you be a part of our academic advisory committee. And you can also share these things and help us work through what we are constantly doing and been doing. So thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
if somebody can grab the mic top so we don't lose it. Somebody get that. Appreciate it. All right, does that conclude? That is our last one now. All right, Dr. Lawrence, your first recommendation.
Dr. Goodwine, I recommend approval of the following administrative appointments.
Is there a motion? Motion by Ms. Wood.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bailey. Any questions on the motion?
Can I, point of information?
Go ahead.
A2 position was Director of Human Resources. This body never did a change of assignment, which we've done for anyone else who've changed positions. So I just want the record to be corrected on that A2.
We can, Ms. Mickey, can you correct that, please?
All right, anything else? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Mr. Scott. 8 yeses.
Your next recommendation?
I recommend approval of the following DEA after July 10th.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
You need a silent
Is
keyboard.
there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Ms. Wick. Any questions on the motion? All right, seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
No.
Dr. Bailey,
No.
Mr. Lacy,
No.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Ms. Reinhardt,
No.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
No.
Mr. Scott.
No.
7 no, 1 yes.
Can I ask a question? This says it's effective tomorrow. Hopefully there's a plan already in place for this intervention specialist classroom.
I will follow up with the executive director.
All right, your next motion?
I recommend approval of the following certified appointments.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Dr. Bailey. Are there any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Mr. Scott. 8 yeses.
I recommend approval of the following classified appointments.
Can I make a motion to take D through G together?
Oh, thank you. Mr. Walker?
I was supposed to do it on the other one, but I forgot.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Walker, second by Mr. Lacy, and we are taking D through G together.
Dr. Lawrence, can I ask for just information on the arts festival?
Mm-hmm. Got it. Sure can. 1 second. Got it.
And for athletics, just an update on fall coaching openings or vacancies.
Glad you asked about that, because Belmont might be double booked again this year.
Good evening. So right now, currently, we have 53 vacancies. For high school, soccer, we need soccer coach for Thurgood, Dunbar, and Stivers. Tennis, Thurgood, and Meadowdale. Feel like it might be another school for that one. Golf, all of our schools. And then boys cross country, Belmont. Girls cross country, Ponitz, Dunbar, and Stivers. And then, looks like here's the other three for tennis, Ponitz, Dunbar, and Belmont. And then for middle school, Stivers Middle School football, golf, tennis, Wright Brothers football, cheer, cross country, golf, tennis, E.J. Brown, cross country, soccer, golf, tennis, Waldman cheerleading, cross country, soccer, golf, and tennis, Charity Adams tennis, cross country, soccer, and golf. And of course, with the middle school, we try to build on that every year, just depending on availability and interest within the school.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Smith?
Chief Jones, my fault, I was trying to look up quick enough.
It's okay.
With the resignation for the middle school track program, they're in season. Who's covering that until another person can come in?
So I believe there's an assistant coach that helped us with another sport that A.D. Watts has identified. And that resignation came, Robin Hayes has been with us for a while, but he also does club volleyball, and he was trying to do something where maybe a couple days or maybe one, and we felt like that wouldn't work with just the inconsistency, so that's kind of where that came. And I think he didn't realize his schedule was going to be too conflicting until he actually said he would do the job. And after talking to the principal, we just felt like, let's try something different.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Looks like Ms. Spurlock is coming up to tell us something too.
You had a question about the All-City Arts Festival?
Yes.
It takes place on May 3rd. It starts about 11 a.m. It's an exciting event. We have elementary students combined performing multiple performances, and multiple of our elementary music teachers perform with their students and also take turns conducting. We also celebrate middle and high school bands as well. They come and compete. We also have a display normally of student art. So it's an amazing day. I invite all of you. Sometimes it's hard to find a chair, so you might want to bring your own because we have so many turnout from our staff, students, and parents.
So is this the festival that takes place at Riverscape?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen a purchase or anything like that for Riverscape.
Is it in one of our agreements already?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's.
We approved the PO last year.
I'll double check.
Okay, and then lastly.
Ask Keisha to check.
Okay, and then lastly, with the All City Music Festival, I do know that our high schools do more of the college style. Is that incorporated into this All City Festival?
I can't speak on that. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think that's what I asked last year, so I just want to make sure.
You said more of a what now?
Okay.
So the HBCU style that our high school
Gotcha.
bands do, is that incorporated into this All City Arts Festival?
I will get that from Keisha and find out.
Thank you.
Right.
But I do want to announce that they have a
Band battle.
They have a battle of the bands on April
26.
26th. Since we
Actually, we have a board meeting that day.
Don't worry about that.
You in our business.
I'm at the Battle of the Bands.
That's what I was asking. I was like,
We know how to
get outta
move
here.
efficiently. when we
Okay,
do.
all right.
It's your
All right, so HBCU style follow up. I can tell you the practices that I've seen in Thurgood and obviously Belmont HBCU style, but we'll find out.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right, any other questions? Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote on D through G? I think it was, something like that.
Yeah.
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Mr. Scott. 8 yeses.
Does that conclude your recommendations for a vote tonight? Dr. Lawrence?
That concludes my recommendations for the vote. All others will be reviewed.
All right, before you move on, I would like to make a motion for reconsideration of, from our last agenda items under classified appointments, item B2.
I second that.
Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
I don't see a B2.
From last meeting.
Last meeting. I'll abstain. I don't really know what's going on. Okay. I understand.
Okay. 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 Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. Wick?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
I'll be forgetting you down there.
7 yeses, 1 abstain.
So now,
Get you up here.
so next, we would be re-voting on the motion, the original motion now. Okay, everybody clear?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Madam Treasurer, may we have a roll call on the original motion?
Original motion on.
On item, again, from the March 18th meeting, under classified, item B2.
Okay. B2. Okay. President Goodwin?
No.
Dr. Bailey?
No.
Mr. Lacy?
Abstain.
Mr. Smith?
No.
Ms. Reinhardt?
No.
Mr. Walker?
No.
Ms. Wick?
No.
Mr. Scott? 7 no, 1 abstain.
Thank you. All right. Dr. Lawrence, back to your recommendations for review.
Thank you, Dr. Goodwin. I need to make one revision. A, B, and C are review. D is for a vote. I spoke about it earlier, about the STEM teachers at Thurgood. Contracts for review. I would ask that board members take a look, and our staff is here, and we're willing to answer questions,
All right.
including me.
Give you guys an opportunity to look, and as always, with contracts and POs, if everyone is in the room, that if you have any questions possible, they'll be able to answer.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr.
Madam-
Lacy.
Okay, so the Brumbaugh construction contract, it says design services to begin following contract award, so the contract isn't awarded yet. Is Brumbaugh just, so what's Brumbaugh doing? If I'm pronouncing that right.
So they won the contract, yes. So right now, that's where the high school redesigns are going through.
Brumbaugh is waiting on 7 votes.
Well, I mean, from,
Yeah.
like, they won, because we had 2 different companies that
Okay.
competed for the bid, so they won the bid. So what was your question? I'm sorry, I missed the last part.
No, that you answered the first part. So you have awarded the contract.
Yes.
And they're gonna spend over a year designing?
So it would probably take less time, but we want to do it while the students are not in session, so we can get it all done at once, rather than, a week here, a week there. We don't have enough time to get the designs done and all the equipment ordered before this summer starts. So our target is to get everything completed by next summer.
But you wanna be able to start it right as soon as students leave or something like that?
Well, we want
or
to start the design process, so we have to,
We'll have the design,
yeah.
okay. Okay, then I understand it a little better.
Mr.
Thank
Walker?
you.
Mr. Walker?
So with that, while I appreciate how the elementary and middle schools look, will the high schools look more of high school style and not like,
It's going to look more like a college food court kind
got
of
it,
deal.
appreciate it.
Next time you come around, I can show you some of the ideas we already have, if you'd
Okay.
like to see.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Not on that.
All right, thank you. Your next recommendation for.
It wasn't on that.
You got something else on this one? Go ahead.
Yes. Dr. Lawrence, the contract service for public relations. I guess I'm confused on what this one actually is. Last year, we had one for contract services for marketing again, and we did a termination of that contract. How's this different? What safeguards are in place to make sure that this organization actually does that work and everything like that?
This one is significantly different. This one is for recruiting. We're in the middle of recruiting seasons. Also teacher retention. We're beginning contract negotiations soon. And also for additional marketing. And I love your question about safeguards. We've met with that company twice, done several reference checks around their work, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to, I know it's a single source, but we are in the middle of a recruiting, what I want to call it, Armageddon. So we're trying to make sure we don't have 180 long-term subs next year, and we're trying to also make sure we don't lose any teachers. And also marketing around bringing kids back, as Ms. Spurlock mentioned earlier, well over 450 kids. We want to continue that movement, and right now is enrollment time.
And
they'll be here next week as well.
Okay, and then
Unlike that other company.
looking at this, it says that the contract starts May 25th. I guess I'm confused on where has HR recruitment been so far this year when we're already at the end of the school year for staff that we're looking to start for this upcoming school year?
I don't have the exact numbers for HR. In fact, they're in Xavier University today recruiting. They were in Bowling Green last week. In fact, they had a special guest with them who recruited several people, several teachers to the district. That special guest was Dr. Goodwine.
Yes, not special.
First off, I'm the Kobe out here. Bitch, like, give me the ball, coach. Ooh-wee.
Yes, she
I
made the
impressed
trip.
myself.
She made the trip to Bowling Green,
Gassed her
Ohio.
up.
So yeah, we can start it sooner.
Well, like I said, I just was curious on, and it said May, and I know we're in April. Okay. Appreciate it. And then, can I go back to food service?
Yep.
International school, is that a part of this since it's still a high school, or? Okay, got it. Thank you.
You good?
Yes.
You sure?
I'm good.
Feel like you didn't ask about everything on there. It's just local. Feel like you're missing something.
Nah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions
Just
on the
want the-
contract? All right, Dr. Lawrence, your next one for review.
I'd like board members to please review the consulting contracts. There are 3.
All right, give you guys a second, and if there are any questions, Mr. Walker.
I do have questions. So, last year we contracted with Revival Center. Is there any data to show that that program worked?
Thank you, Ms. Minor.
So Revival Center supported our 21st Century, which we get data on that every year, and yes, they were effective according to that. This contract they have, that they were one of the quotes that were submitted, that the state and federal grant solicited. They got the best, had the best deal and were contracted. This is where they're servicing our unhoused students with McKinney-Vento and our ELL. They are providing for the summer the enrichment part. In the morning it'll be academics, and in the afternoon it's enrichments. And they got quotes from different organizations, and theirs was the best. But we do have data about their 21st Century because they service Westwood. This is them servicing our summer program, enrichment, non-academic enrichment.
I totally get that. Last year, we approved this same contract for this same entity at International School. So I would like to see that data outside of their 21st Century, because it was questions last year about their contract award for there as well.
Yeah.
So you wanna see
They're non-academic, what they do enrichment. So do you want me to
I mean, they work with the
provide
same,
data on
Yeah,
like their
just-
behaviors or?
because if it's coming out of Title I funds, then it's a grant summary that's supported after they've been awarded grant dollars. So I'm asking about what services they provide under those grant dollars and with those students, and how was that beneficial
Right.
with them re-awarding this year?
Okay, yes, we can provide even the activities they did and
Yeah.
everything. Like
Okay.
a summary of what they did last year and then a summary of what's coming this year.
Perfect.
That way you'll
Appreciate
have it.
that. And then lastly, I see Belmont is on here for student engagement, beating burnout, things like that. Is this the same thing that will be offered to the other high schools as well?
The one for Belmont, all of the schools have designated Title I funds, and they have an opportunity to use it with certain vendors specialized for their school. So this one, the student engagement, on here is just for Belmont.
We don't have uniform, when it's title, we don't do the same thing for all the schools. The principals are, in theory, supposed to do this, supposed to use their one plan and say, these are the funds we want to use to do whatever we're doing for academic achievement for the year. So they have different vendors, different processes at different schools. I was just at Belmont, actually, with seniors, and they were working on last chance, working on certificates, and trying to make sure that everybody graduated. So I'm sure they'll be involved in that process. I think the question I need to ask all the high school principals is, what are you doing? It doesn't have to be this, but are you doing something like that?
Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam President.
Ms. Wood?
Thank you. Along those lines with the consultant contracts, and I know I've talked about this before, is implementing some sort of training or education or learning experience for our children around conflict resolution, and it falls under this I Am Possible enterprise. So I would like to request, or I am requesting, that rather than giving the individual buildings, especially in our secondary schools, not that, we don't have as much violence or opportunity in our elementary schools as we do our junior high and high schools, that we insert something that gives these students some skills and training around conflict resolution. I think that, we live in a time where it's necessary. We have gaps in modeled behavior that our students and our families would certainly benefit with some additional training. And I want it to happen. And I don't want it to be that and I know every building has its own personality, its own needs, but I think as a district, there's something we could adopt that is district-wide that we can refer to all the time. We talk about our 5 Cs, part of our culture, our communication, and I just think this is an area where we need to focus more of our funding, our dollars, and our expertise to do better by our students. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, you got something down there?
Well, I would say that, like you said, our families, like I think a lot of behavioral issues are coming from like that, like situations that are happening. And so I feel like if we had more services that targeted when kids go home, it would help some of the behavior that we're seeing them bring to school.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. I love randomly calling on you just to see what'll happen. Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
Can I just add, when we do this work that Board Member Wick is talking about, can it be intentional that our academic scholars are not the target? The population that we know is spending time at the hub, spending time not going to school and things like that, that is a target that I really want us to try to focus on and really figure out how do we move the needle with your population, your generation, things like that.
Yeah, one thing we do have that is district-wide, and the restorative practices, that initiative that we have in the schools that we're building on is something that can work. But we will look at a district-wide, what does everyone get? Part of the competencies we're working on with our Next Generation Learning Initiative, being very intentional on teaching those skills and making sure all graduates have that will also yield to that. So as we're building that program, that's a district-wide program. So I appreciate the recommendations.
And I think piggybacking on what Brother Walker says is that, not that our academic scholars necessarily, different people have different skill sets, but certainly peer mentoring in those opportunities that we can structure programs where, there are all sorts of spectrum of behaviors here that we can use our high student performance to outreach and to do work differently. So
peer mediation is a big part of PBIS restorative practices, having those leadership opportunities, ambassadors for all children.
Ms. Minor, I know that you and Ms. Sheehy started a kind of a trend here. Maybe we should invite board members out to spend some time with the life coaches that report to Ms. Dooley and underneath Dr. Worley, because they're doing that work with our students who are not all the students who have A's and B's.
Yeah, that's right.
Board Member Smith?
I would say, I think sometimes when we have these conversations, we start new work and we forget the work that has been started and then gets diverted. Like we talk about the life coaches, when this board, well, not this board, previous board, abolished the previous positions and we added new positions, and then we consistently added on to that staff to do this mentorship work and to get involved with our youth. And then what happens is we then change directions, we redirect staff, they end up doing different work, and then we circle back around and we say, hey, let's start working on this issue when we already have had people in to work on this issue, and we tell people to go do something else. And I think that is where, when we get in these spaces, we keep having the same conversations because we change priorities, and it's very easy because we get to this reactive spaces where it's, all right, we need to work on credit recovery, so we need to figure out who's gonna do this. Truancy becomes an issue, okay, now we need to go and see who's gonna be working on this. And I think it takes a targeted effort to understand that these kind of things have to be done at a young age. When we talked about having the roles that are now, I want to say, the life coaches, that was the whole reason why we wanted to really start having them working at an elementary age. And then you fast forward and they're working in high schools. And it's one of those things, if we're really going to be serious around conflict resolution, this isn't something you're going to go and talk to 15, 16, 17-year-olds about. If we're talking about the 15, 16, 17-year-olds that we see in some of these issues, they've been in some of these behaviors since they were 9, 10, 11 years old. So if we're not doing it at that young age, then we're talking to people who are already letting, to what Mr. Scott is saying, that home life creep into their day-to-day activities. So some of the things that we see play out at the high school are playing out at the elementary and middle schools, and they just haven't reached that violent of a issue. We've seen that where just, I hate these things that have happened. We had a shooting at Louise Troy in the parking lot, little kids fighting. I mean, so if we're talking about this, I do think if we're gonna do it, to really take a step back and look at what we already have here. Look at how we utilize the people we have here. Look at how we utilize some of the people that come in and want to help. I think that there's brilliant minds around, and there are people who want to help. And sometimes it's easy to get in our own way by creating things when we shouldn't have to recreate the wheel, because there's programs here. And we've had people here, there are people that have been hired on to do some of these roles, and over time, their roles change, and then you end up seeing that gap. So I do think this is important, but I think it's important to look at what we have, because I wouldn't want us to then just spin on an issue when we're spinning our wheels outside of where we need to go. So I do think, I also want to piggyback on what Mr. Walker said. I think oftentimes we target individuals who are not in the demographic that the problem lies all the time. And so being specific and being honest and being real and finding out where can we start doing this work, and understanding it's not going to be a instant overnight turnaround, but if we're really going to be serious about the work, it's going to have to be done at a really young age to create that dynamic in our children, so that as they grow, then we can step into that. Because if we're not, we're going to go away from that. And that's what I want to remind us, that is literally the model we set up for the life coaches in Dr. Worley's work. When Dr. Worley came in, it was to start them out in elementary school, working them through, and then having the high schools turn around and do mentorship with those students that have come up. Over time, what we end up doing is we turn these things into ways to show photo ops for kids with 3.5 GPAs. We take the kids who have the best attendance or the best grades, and we take them here and there, and we get away from what the work was actually targeted to do. And so I think if we're gonna do it, I want us to really hone in on why we're doing it and what's the purpose. And if we're not gonna get there, we're just gonna be back at this the next time something happens. That is
Thank you. I just have one comment on it. So I used to watch this show because it was amazing. I only got 4 seasons, called The Good Place. It's a great show, right? But on the show, it was the good place and the bad place, and then it was the median place. that you didn't go in the good or the bad. To both of what they're saying, our student center is a good place. And I don't know how, I don't want to be in the bad place at all, but that medium place, even if you guys looked at like a junior student center program for those kids that they're not at the student center level, but they teetering on that line of, I could be that or I can go the opposite way. But those type of programs that kind of bring them in a little bit more and focused on that, I would love it if you guys made like a medium place that allowed some of these students to be able to like pull themselves up and go on to essentially what the good place looks like.
Did they have Ted Danson?
It did. It was an amazing show. It's an amazing show. It's on Netflix. You can watch it now. It's Always Smiles.
So we appreciate all the comments, and definitely the life coaches and their focus and making sure there's a direction. Our evidence, we have evidence to show that where schools are implementing positive behavior intervention supports, in addition to restorative practices, have significantly changed the culture to help all students. The ones that don't have problems, the ones that have severe problems, they've totally transformed. We have examples of that from elementary all the way to high school, and culture shifts. And so that's our goal. Definitely improving and continuing, though that's a system that's been around, but it's not always been implemented with fidelity. Where it's happening, we're seeing significant changes and children growing and doing extremely well. So we're excited about that, and we're going to continue that.
Can I?
Hold on, you weren't next. Mr. Scott was next, actually.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to piggyback off what you said about kind of how, if we had something like a junior student center for those who aren't at that level but are at school, I think a lot of behavioral issues comes from a value of how you see yourself, your self-worth. And so many of our students are coming from homes where they're not seeing themselves valued, and so they come into the educational spaces still feeling that way and not feeling like they have really an option or the ability to pursue education seriously. And so that's taking shape to the behaviors we're seeing. And I think if we had more of our focus on how we can instill that self-worth or show students that they do have options regardless of their family life or their financial background, that they would kind of see that they do have a way out. Also, when you have a value or a purpose, you're going to kind of act a certain way to keep that self-image. But when you don't have a self-image to keep up, there's no way to you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Always insightful, Mr. Scott. Mr. Walker, how you gonna top that? No pressure, because he dropping nuggets.
So when we look at this, a lot of times what we end up seeing is the senior adults who've worked in the work. Unfortunately, students don't want to always hear from them and work with those individuals. So if we're going to do the work, can we at least get some individuals who may have come through some things that our students are going through and how they can move forward from that? And I think a thing for me with the work is I'm not interested in work to please downtown business leaders or downtown other elected officials. I'm interested in the work because it affects the community where our students actually live and reside, play, and everything like that. So that's mine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Lacey, you got something down there?
No.
Ms. Ryman, anything to add on? All right, anything else on the consultant piece? We went into a whole deep dive.
We did.
With consultant. All right, Dr. Lawrence, your next recommendation for review?
Please take a look at the Memorandum of Understanding, NJROTC Navy at Belmont. This is just an extension of an existing contract.
Dang, I thought it was a new
I did thought it was a new program too.
Never mind. All right. Thought we was gonna have two of them.
We are working on that at another school, Dunbar.
All right, are there any questions on the extension of? All right, Dr. Lawrence, your next recommendation for a vote.
I recommend approval of the following resolution, Thurgood Marshall Science Math Signing Bonus 2025.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lacey, second by Ms. Wick. Any questions on the motion?
To be
Mr. Walker, go ahead.
To be clear, this bonus is the bonus that staff will get for Thurgood. This is not to say that they will get this bonus and then the other bonus that we approved as well.
Correct.
Okay.
I got a question.
Mr. Smith?
How long do I have to be there to get it? If I come over,
Get 5,000 for 1 year and then.
get it and I'm gone, how much does it really help me if I come to Thurgood and I teach for 1 year and then request to be transferred?
Well, we have mechanisms around transfers that are associated with the contract, the DA contract, that suggests that the superintendent has the right to deny transfers. So I wouldn't be granting any transfers after 1 year.
All right, then second question would be, what if I come over and I just decide I don't like it after 3 weeks?
Well, I think the beauty of us changing over to we're changing on July 1st, our pay schedule. So before, now we prepay people, but we will no longer be doing that. So we'll be able to hold their final check.
But
And then with the difference of that, we go to subrogation and see if we can get it back.
Yeah, I mean, I hear your concern, Mr. Smith, because there's no language in here on, like, you at least have to have a length of time commitment. I do also understand why that's not in there too, but it still puts us in a shifty position here.
What'd you say?
Shifty.
Oh, I was about to say, hey, we just don't care anymore.
Shit.
Hey, you did it.
You did. Get your mind back. Because even with our professional development bonus of $5,000 a year, we still require a 2-year commitment from individuals.
All right. I trust y'all figure it out. I trust these people are good people.
Is there a way?
Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
Is there a way to do this as a policy with perimeters?
There's always a way to put policy
in. I mean, because I just don't, I would, on Mr. Smith's point, I think if even we look at it and say, hey, you get $2,500 after the first semester, you get another $2,500 at the end, but then on July 1st, I'm out of here and going to another district.
So are you recommending that a policy be established that sign-on bonuses come with a commitment and it's based off of like the $2,500? What's that, like a 2-year commitment, 1-year commitment, or something like that in that scale piece? Is that what you're asking, to send a policy?
Yes.
We will work on that.
Thank you.
All right. You got another question?
I just want to say I do appreciate that part, because I think, well, I wanted to say I appreciate this piece and the addition, because I know to build up what we need and what we know we can have, it's going to take having qualified staff, but that other piece, and we see that around our districts that have high performances, it also takes dedicated staff and continuity with that staff. So I think having staff that are there, that are talented, but then having staff that are there and being able to spend time together lends us towards success. So I appreciate the conversation around that, but I also appreciate the resolution. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, so we will get that and bring it back to the next meeting with you guys for a policy on sign-on bonuses. All right, are there any other questions? Love a good policy request.
I rarely do that.
I've been slacking this year. All right.
That concludes my recommendations.
Whoa, we're voting.
Oh, sorry about that.
Slow down. All right, Madam Treasurer, you got a question, Mr. Scott? You think it's gonna benefit Thurgood? I mean, you won't be there, but.
Oh. You're good.
All right, Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
No.
Mr. Scott. 8 yeses.
Does that conclude your recommendations, Dr. Lawrence?
That concludes my recommendations.
Madam Treasurer, your first recommendation for review?
All my recommendations are for review, and
Okay.
All right.
okay.
Are there any questions?
Yes, we are increasing the budget for general fund, general fund increases 260K for purchases services for snacks and extra duty. And the other increase we are requesting is increase by $5 million for food service, construction and upgrading. Those are the two changes we are requesting.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the first item for review? All right, your next item for review, Madam Treasurer.
Next one is advances. We are requesting to advance from general fund to Title 6, Title 4. Title 4, $62,167.
All right, any questions? Your next recommendation for review?
Next one is minutes for February 11, February 18, February 25, and February 27. The next one is purchase requisitions. They are from different departments. Let's look at them, and if you have a question, we will answer.
All right, I'll give you guys a second. See where we kick tonight's party off at. Are there any questions? You need more time to look? Give me more time to look. Mr. Scott, are you looking? You got some questions? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Scott. On the floor.
Okay, so the CDW government for laptops, the CCP.
Hey.
I need y'all to please figure out another brand of computers because they're too similar to the ones that are for the other classes in the school, so they get mixed. I lost mine. Either somebody stole it, it got mixed in with another computer in the class at that time, or.
Let me get you somebody from IT up here who can talk about that. Mr. Williams, you back there? Come on up. Our student senate president has brought a valid concern that he needs you to remedy for his constituents.
So he would actually be happy to know all the new ones that we are purchasing. So how it shows right now, Dayton Public Schools, if they are for a specific program, CTE, CCP, we're actually going to etch that on the bottom. Yes, so you can't pull off a sticker or anything like that. All right.
There you go. Glad you shared that with us, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Walker, are you ready? You want to just email? You could do that too. It's okay.
Well,
Don't feel the need.
well, I'm just curious on the under 15,000. The use of charter schools, is this outsourcing jobs in our district? And why are we not using?
Say that again, the use of charter schools or
Charter buses.
Okay.
Charter buses.
All
Like,
right.
why are we not using our DPS transportation department for these programs?
We've typically done that. And you gonna call Dr.
I was
Vincent
gonna
Taylor?
ask which one of you two, because I told you.
We
this
can
question
tag
would
team
come.
it.
Come on up too.
We tag
Let's
team
talk as a unit.
Fresh on the mic.
Oh, I brought a piece of paper, was ready.
Yeah, we've typically done that historically in the 3 years I've been here. We have charter buses. This time, we sat down and met with Marie Winfrey and Karan. What's Karan's last name? Taylor? Thomason? Yeah, Thomas. Yeah, Karan Thomas, the sort of union leadership, to talk about a plan for how we move forward to make sure that we have all field trips covered. Sometimes we have field trips, and the scale of them, it gets past the capacity of our drivers to be able to effectively transport our kids to extended learning events. So that's what we've been working on. We have a meeting set up, and we already had a pre-meeting with Dr. Benson Taylor, myself, and like I said, union membership.
So
Dr. Benson? You made the trip all the way from there to here.
Yes, so oftentimes when you have multiple schools going to multiple locations, because of our scheduling and our tiers, we can't always accommodate. And so that's where you'll find charter buses come into play. We are looking at how we can be more effective and efficient in that. So we're looking at whether we need a field trip coordinator, whether we need to look at our scheduling and offer transportation earlier in the day. So we're working through to try and eliminate that as much as possible.
So my follow-up question is, after meeting with the union regarding this, is the union okay with the action of what's being recommended?
So yeah, they understand that there are sometimes, we have drivers that may not get done until 9 or 9:15 or 9:30. Some trips leave early, they leave at 9, or they may leave earlier than that. So there are certain situations and circumstances where a charter bus is the most feasible option. Now, okay, yay or nay, obviously they would prefer we do not use charter buses. But they do recognize that in certain situations, if we are not able to provide the service, then a charter bus would be the next option, because we want to make sure that our students get to every educational opportunity as possible.
Okay, so with that same piece, is it more of the trips are not getting fulfilled, or the trip is coming in last minute and staff already has other plans? So is this another alternative to combat last minute submission of field trips or anything like that?
We have a scheduling system. We're moving to a new scheduling system. So it could be a variety, and it just depends on the situation. There isn't a one-size-fits-all answer to the question, because sometimes things come up and we want to, the opportunity didn't exist and now it does exist, and so we may already be scheduled for quite a few things, and then we don't have the opportunity to accommodate that. The answer is not the children should not go. So, it really just depends. There are situations where it may be something that was not on our radar, and then we're looking at we can't accommodate it, or it could be something where it was early enough, but we just already had things scheduled.
Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up question? So I want to distinguish, one of these items are for trips outside the state, which is completely reasonable to use a charter bus, because that'd be a long drive all the way to Tuskegee on DPS. We've gotten better, but we're not that comfortable as a rider. I'm gonna tell you.
We got the air conditioner on there.
We got air conditioning, but
The
we
new
don't
buses
have,
are more comfortable.
we do not have cushion seats with TVs and a bathroom on the bus. That's a long drive, people.
Turn your knees to the side.
Okay, but the second one, did this just only occur on this date listed, the March 21st, or are we expecting future occurrences as well?
I believe there are some additional ones scheduled. Where there aren't other ones scheduled, we are looking at them to see if there needs to be end of the year trips, things of that nature. So there are conversations that are happening to determine whether or not we would need to have additional.
And this is a last resort, not a first resort.
Oh, absolutely a last resort.
And I'm talking about, like, we exhausted every option and made sure we had no one available and nothing else, and then we had to go to that just to ensure the kids had the experience. I still need a solid yes again. I need to hear something.
Can I add a?
Let's just
Don't
say.
make her, don't make her say yeah.
I just want to know, it's like the last thing. Like, it was
That's
never our first option. That's just important.
Typically the plan.
Yeah, because I value
It's
our
typically the
drivers
plan.
and what they bring to us.
I believe if there were an issue, when it said hearing of the public, as we well know, Ms. Winfrey would have been here.
And I'm saying, like, you even called me to go, can you fill in? Because we got just this one down. I'd be like, yeah, I can't do it either.
We will keep you on our list. Absolutely.
Don't, I'm joking, don't. All right, go ahead.
Mr. Gray is shaking his head.
So can I just ask, why are we using charter buses to transfer students to Sinclair and this right here in the community? I could see if this was a field trip going somewhere else, but it's Sinclair.
So the parameters, Dr. Benson Taylor talked earlier about the parameters. We have tiers and we can't always get you to where you need to be. So we can't get you to Sinclair at 8 o'clock or 8:30. And we can't pick you up at 2:30 or 3:30 because that's within the tiers.
But I'm pretty sure Sinclair STEM Exploration would be within the tier to use DPS transportation. Is there a schedule or itinerary for
Can
that
I
day?
compound your question?
Yeah.
How many people are we doing that for? Because why would we use vans or something else, or things that don't require the CDL driver?
Yeah, I'm sorry, go. You
I'm
go.
just saying, those are the questions that we're working on answering when we have, in our field trip discussion. Because I don't think we've had previously had the discussions about alternative ways to do that. Can we send a van? We are looking at the number of van drivers that are certified. A lot of our van drivers in the district didn't go back through certifications, so a lot of people are not eligible. And so we're looking at all of those things, making sure that we have all of the options in place.
I got to follow up.
It was your question, that's
Ah.
compounded, so.
So this is a career exploration day. That is, I'm probably sure this is under college and career readiness area. You have life coaches who are van certified under the same area. So life coaches cannot drive the vans for students.
I don't think that the number of life coaches and the number of kids going matches up, and I don't believe STEM Exploration Day is within the window. I have every reason to believe it probably starts at 8:30, and probably ends at 2:33, which are both in the window that typically can't be done.
Okay.
All right, are there any other questions?
I have,
Go ahead, Mr. Lacy.
on the, in the 15,000 and less, there's a participants, for participants, a $10,000 mileage, travel and mileage reimbursement.
Get out of here.
So it lacks some of the specifics. So this is an open PO. Are we adding to an existing open PO?
15,000 is interesting.
Let's start with, which department does this belong to? Let's start there. Then we can know who your question goes to, Mr. Lacy.
Okay.
Is it yours, Dr. Moore?
Scrolling to find it.
Is it yours, Madam
Last
Treasurer?
page. No.
Not Madam Treasurer.
It would be
Is it yours,
it's-
Madam Businessman?
Page 5.
Participants, travel and mileage reimbursement, general fund. Yeah, I see blank stares everywhere.
Looks like we need to add a column on here.
Yeah, I need to find out where that one is. I don't.
You can get back to me.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Which one? We got that.
Equity?
You allowed to say that these days?
We still have, who is in the Department of Equity?
No. It's wild times out here. Wild times.
In New York.
Dr. Lawrence, who's still in the Department of Equity?
We're a wild bunch.
No one.
Right, this is a fictitious purchase now. Ooh.
Speaking of the Department of Equity, I'm still waiting on that update of the consultant we paid to do equity work.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore, so. Okay, so is this
Don't let that man
not,
stop us.
is this a purchase order that was put in by mistake or error, since that department doesn't actually have individuals out of it?
We'll have to look into it because it was actually already approved last year. I'm not sure why it's brought back forward.
Huh.
Can you tell who brought it forward?
Rebecca Hall was the initial person.
Who
Good
was
catch,
that?
Mr. Lacy.
Y'all snitching.
Good catch.
Y'all snitching.
Okay, you know what? I think we're gonna add a column to add the department if things go down.
Yeah.
That was a fun little,
Yeah, add a column and take that one off for now.
well, it's under 15,000, it's not something we vote on, so.
That's why we had Miss Hamilton.
But I mean, if there was an original, I mean, if this is adding to one,
It doesn't say. It doesn't say.
it's just an original one. Okay, I was wondering if it.
Oh, and it's title fund. No, never mind. Different fund.
Yeah, but there's no department anymore.
This is true.
Okay, so Dr. Lawrence has asked if we take that off. He could have just said that in the mic, but I'll say it for him, because that's what we do up here. Yeah, let's investigate that one a little bit more. All right, anything else?
Still with the under 15,000, Dr. Lawrence, is this the entire staff at Charity Items going to Vegas and the entire staff at Edison going to St. Louis?
I'd have to ask the chiefs about Charity and
It's
Edison.
PLC at Work Institute.
Typically, that's not the entire staff, but yeah, typically it's just the leadership team. But I can have Ms. Spurlock send a way to confirm. Yeah, we haven't sent the entire staff anymore.
Good evening. We have multiple schools taking small groups of teachers. Normally, they're building leadership team that support the work of our PLCs. And what they're going to do is, last year we sent administrators. We're sending small groups per building based on their needs, and they're using their Title I funds to do that, to travel to various professional development, and then they're going to use that information to plan for next school year, and also bring that information and do PD within their building.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any more for you? All right. Your next recommendation for review, Madam Treasurer.
I have Zen and Now. They are from different departments. Oh, it is one.
All right. Any questions on the then and now? All right. Does that conclude your recommendations for review, Madam Treasurer?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm actually going to skip to item 10. Dr. Benson Taylor.
Yeah.
Approve these with a blanket approval.
Different schools.
Thank you. So we have two new resolutions to address the athletic grades and submissions for the charter schools and or non-enrolled students. Our first one for Dayton Business Technology High School, and then the second one for Gem City Career Prep High School. And so these are memorandums of understanding that mirror the ones that we have already approved for other charter and non-attended schools, non-DPS schools, to ensure that the athletics programs, that we have all of the information that we need from the students in those schools.
Thank you. Is there a motion to take A and B
So
together?
moved.
Second.
Second.
Who seconded it?
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Mr. Walker. We are taking A and B together. Any questions on the motion? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think, the other last one was did we ever get anything back from the STEM school?
I do not remember, I don't think we have it back. I know the conversation has occurred about the STEM school.
That's what I was thinking. I had some parents reach out around that one. All right.
So we'll make sure we reach out to follow up on that.
Appreciate you. Good.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
So loud.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
I will still ratify, yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Mr. Scott. 8 yeses.
Thank you. Going back up to item 9, so, let's see. I recommend the approval of the following Dayton Public School District to establish an alternative school.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Walker, second by Dr. Bailey. Questions on the motion? Mr. Smith?
Yes. First, I would ask that we really give serious consideration to putting some kind of vocational aspect at this school. Definitely think if we're gonna have that, to make sure that no matter who's in this space, they are still there working to better themselves in some kind of way that will help them once they leave Dayton Public Schools. And I think having some kind of vocational program, and even down the road, I would also want something akin to our ROTC and some kind of program in that space. I think it brings back some of the spaces we've had before. When we talk about that Grace A. Green aspect, in some spaces that actually did wonders for some of our children. So that would be my request for this school.
Thank you. I do want to thank both Dr. Lawrence and Dr. Jones and everyone that's been involved. This has been a 2-year process of us bringing this idea and concept to fruition. And we are still not at the finish line, but we are going to get there. And I do believe it's going to be impactful for our district. Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
To correct my original motion,
Amend.
my original motion, this will take place at Jackson Center for the 25-26 school year.
All right. Any other comments? Questions? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Scott. You got to put your hand up or something.
That's it. He got it.
Raise my hand, I don't get all the way down here.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, like, is Mount Street not what our alternative school is already? Or
It's not the alternative school, it's actually credit recovery, which is a little bit different in that piece. But I'm gonna pass it over to Dr. Lawrence so he can explain it more because he knows far more than I do about it. And it also has a night school component too that many people don't know about, and I like to plug it every opportunity. Go ahead.
I'll work backwards. Students who are struggling with credit deficiency, they're able to go there in the evening. They may be working during the day and go from 4 to 7 to make up credits. And they also use Apex during the day, also credit recovery. And then, that's a space that is not for students who have been expelled. That's not typically where they go. And so it's not an alternative school as we know it.
There's a lot of misconceptions about that. Like, half the district thinks that's what that is.
You know,
Staff it too, but we're learning together and we're constantly trying to change those narratives that there are different functions of these schools.
Yeah, I like Mount Street, they come to my botany class.
Isn't that your favorite class?
That's a nice marketing PO.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I think that is another plug for people to tune in to our board meetings. I will say Mound Street came out in force to let us know last year exactly what Mound Street does.
This is true.
And so I think that would help us tremendously, maybe if we put some more pieces out to really separate those two and then highlight, like you said, that 4 to 7 piece. Because there are a lot of programs that go on in the district, but unless people know about those programs, then they're not going to be as effective as they could be.
Thank you. All right, no other questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. I recommend, go ahead, somebody say something? All right, I recommend the approval of the following board travel.
So moved.
Second.
I feel like you shouldn't second since you're on there. Can somebody else?
Oh,
second?
yeah.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Ms. Wick. Any questions?
was on there. Let me do my job.
I mean, you got to jump quickly. You're not ready. Seeing none, Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
and Mr. Scott.
They took his mic to put
Took your
batteries
mic
in.
away.
8 yeses.
All right, thank you. So now we are moving in. We have 2 discussions for us. Dr. Lawrence, are you still presenting anything, or are we just talking?
We're just talking.
All right, so let's go first with Belmont restructuring, or it says school restructuring, Belmont High School. Give us a little background.
The background, as we spoke last month and we brought a proposal in, we modified that proposal. The proposal was that the 6th graders from across the district be redispersed to other middle schools, and that Belmont just have an 8th grade, and then we move from that 8th grade to 9th grade so that 7th and 8th would be removed from Belmont. And we came back and revised that, sent a revision to you all as an update to say that we have an award-winning band program, so we want to give the 6th graders an opportunity to go there in the 7th grade so that they can be in band and go be there for the whole 6 years, kind of similar to Stivers. If you've seen Belmont's band, you know it's spectacular. And we spoke to the junior ROTC, Mr. What's his, is it Lieutenant? Is he a Lieutenant Colonel? Walked me through a Dangerfield about ROTC and the possibility of 6th graders entering who want to be in ROTC. with the rest of the sixth graders being dispersed to the other middle schools.
All right, I'll open up the floor to questions. Actually, this is general discussion, so
Yeah,
people can just jump in on this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Go ahead.
At the last meeting, I believe the request was to add Belmont back to the student assignment enrollment forms for parents to be able to select if that was somewhere that their students wanted to go. To my knowledge, that has not been done since our last meeting.
Is that a question or a statement?
I was just curious on how do we know which students are even interested in going to Belmont if the work that the board asked to be placed back hasn't even been done?
This product's coming up, I think.
Good evening. It seems like I've been up here a lot tonight. So we did have a meeting, Chief Dooley and myself, with student enrollment to discuss what we do. We have indicated students that are in the zone that could be in the Belmont area, and that we would send a survey to indicate if they would want to attend Belmont for seventh grade, and indicate if they're interested in either band or JROTC, I think. I'm gonna make sure I know that. It's the Navy, it's the Navy. And so that we make sure that we understand that, and we can receive those surveys back, and then we can enroll them into Belmont for seventh grade. And we've already pulled all that information, so we're ready for that to go.
I guess I'm confused because that's not what the board had asked to be done last time. So that's different than what.
I thought you asked, how would we get the information of who would be interested in Belmont?
No,
For
the first part of that question was, at our meeting last month, the directive from the board was to add Belmont back to the student enrollment forms for parents to select if that's where they wanted to.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I thought there was two things. How would we get people that are already interested?
Yes.
And how do we get new people that are interested? That would be both, yes, I'm sorry.
So the first thing that we asked was not done.
So for students coming in to enroll into Belmont into seventh grade.
Correct.
Yes, we had a meeting with student enrollment, and that's how we're gonna do. We're asking how will we get people that would indicate that they're interested in either band or ROTC that want to enroll. That's why we're gonna send out the survey to those families so that they can tell us what are they interested in, because we have to do a scheduling. You know, are they interested into band or Navy? ROTC, yes, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Chief Spurlock. I think I
Okay.
would direct it to Dr. Lawrence on 2 weeks ago at our last board meeting. And then there was an email that went out with saying to add that back. Was that done? And I think I sent the follow-up email the day of the enrollment fair because I went over there and it was not added on there.
Mm-hmm. We didn't add it as a virtual piece. We added it. We're going to add it when we survey the parents to see where they want to go. Yeah.
I guess I'm confused on that's not what we had said to do last time.
While you digesting that, let me ask this in between questions on that piece. And it's more so a little historical context, and I'm gonna ask Board Member Wick and Board Member Reiner, because you were on the board last time and I asked you guys this too, but you know, you may know some things, like the last time we made a change in that piece and kind of what the shift happened to, I think it was only gone for a year last time. We did something with the middle school piece right there. I have my theories on what I believe happened, but I don't know. But I just want to know if you guys could add any context to kind of the 7th through 12th Belmont, what that is and all that. Just anything.
Yeah, so, is it okay?
Go for it.
The decision to Belmont was, for a while, the district had really wanted to have freestanding middle schools, with the exception of Stivers, because Stivers' program is dependent upon starting the magnet programming at grade 7. But having the freestanding high schools and having the freestanding middle schools and really being able to put resources in those places, all the ways in which districts try to make sure that they're serving the middle school population best. There's a lot of really intensive needs that happen with middle school. The reason why the shift to Belmont opening up to 7th and 8th grade was purely out of running out of space at Wright Brothers. I did contact the previous superintendent and checked with her to make sure that I was recalling correctly, and had a conversation with her, and she reminded me, and going over my memory and trying to get the details right. Wright Brothers was bursting at the seams. And there was some, so the majority of the students came from Wright Brothers. There were some from E.J. Brown, there were some from Wagaman as well too. And it really helped a lot of the issues that we were experiencing at Wright Brothers as well too, not just overcrowding, but a lot of the really intensive needs that middle schoolers have. So the reason for that was because there was space at Belmont, and Wright Brothers was completely overloaded, and we did not have the space there.
Thank you.
But why did you get any, why did we only do it for a year?
Well, we've had, why was it only high school for a year?
We eliminated the program for only a year.
I don't recall the reasons for that. But then we phased back in the middle school. We did first 8th grade, or we phased it the 7th grade, or just 7th grade. And then they became 8th graders, and then we added 7th grade. So we phased back in the middle school at Belmont. Is that helpful, Madam President?
Yeah, hey, people who were here, it's always good to get your perspective.
Joe wasn't here? No.
That was his vacation year.
It was 2020, so that was my 3rd month here. Also, it was part of the issues that was created due to the quadrant system and accepting students that were outside of the quadrant. That is what ended up happening as well, because if you think back, we had 2 on one side of town, you had E.J. Brown, and you had Walkman. On the other side of town, you had Wright Brothers. What has happened historically was that it's just a piece of what Dayton is, and if we're gonna be honest, we gotta be honest. There are some people that do not like to travel across the river to go to school, and so what happened was Wright Brothers was very packed, and there was the fear that if you did not have to somewhere from the kids from Wright Brothers to go, they would not go to E.J. Brown and Wagaman. And so we were bursting out. That is why the next March 2020 of March 2020, plus Belmont has very vocal citizens in that area that wanted some of their students to be able to go over there. That was what I brought up in the last discussion, was those same issues, and saying that if we went and changed that, my fear was that you would run into the same problem and we would be just circling back and recreating history all over again. And because you see some of that at our schools. When you look at our schools, you see schools like Kaiser, where you have neighborhoods where people want to stay in that neighborhood. It becomes a system where if I do not get into this school, then I run the risk of leaving the district in totality. And so that is what we're up against, and that is kind of where that came out.
Did you pause or?
I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. I will say I am happy to hear that middle school will be remaining there, because again, similar to what Board Member Smith just stated, that community is really involved in that piece, and Wright Brothers is our largest standalone middle school of the 3 that we have right there. So it is good to hear that that'll be over there. And an added bonus, I love that we're having more musicians.
Yeah.
I mean, the ROTC piece, that's great too. That's gonna be fun. But the musicians are really impactful in that piece. I will ask, because even though we're allowing it to remain there, how does that help us with our size issue? Because
Can I add to what you're saying?
I didn't finish what I was saying.
I'm talking about your original comment.
Okay. Pause.
I guess I'm, yeah.
Pause. Not a question, but
No,
you
no.
can add to the statement. Or you
Okay.
want to wait for y'all?
Yeah, let me, yeah.
You
Finish
wanna
it, then
wait
I'm
for
gonna come
y'all?
back,
Okay.
yeah.
So to our original piece, because even in looking at the numbers, when the 7th grade was removed from this thing, we only had about 37 seats as of April. And again, as I constantly state, Belmont does not compete with our other schools, because most people in the area stay in the area over there. So even though we plan to talk about this in more depth, and it's okay if you don't have to answer today, we do plan to talk about the size and what's happening at Belmont at our board retreat. But just any preliminary thoughts on how are we going to still address kind of some of the concerns that your team, you guys have brought up, and what you were trying to address with removing the middle school out?
First of all, I want to go back and answer Mr. Walker's question. I directed the staff to give us 3 buckets. Those kids that strictly wanted to go to Belmont, those that wanted to go there for ROTC and those that wanted to go there for band and music. And then, you know, begin the conversation at the retreat around who they were and how we were going to move forward. To answer your question around size, we have around space. I think if we streamline that and then have band and ROTC as the spaces for middle school, I think it allows us to move forward with our Forward NGL work, which is putting programming at Belmont when there is none. That's one of the things we heard repeatedly from teachers and from kids. I don't know if the community knows, but it's the only school where we don't have a portfolio of CTE programming, and we're trying to change that over there. In fact, that was one of the things that was said when we went ahead and talked to the staff.
I just want you to know Mr. Scott's face popped up. Like, are you sure?
You have some. It's not robust, but we're getting there. The manual says next year we're hot there. So we'll be able to work around that.
I wish that you guys at home could see Mr. Scott's face when he said that that's the only school that didn't have. He was like, "Are you sure? Have you seen what I'm at?" But okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
That's it.
Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
So I guess I'm confused because we have not, as a board, said we were changing Belmont. And now what you're saying is students will only go to Belmont if they're interested in band and ROTC. So if 5 kids say that they're interested, those 5 kids go and no one else goes?
I was asked what that would mean for space and programming. I was asked what that would mean if we did that. And so I was giving them what it would mean.
Okay. So as of now, students and families will be able to select.
If it stays the same and nothing changes, then we don't have any programming there. We move and we stay with the overcrowded, overpacked, on carts, jammed into one hallway. We just keep it moving and stay with that.
So middle school is in one hallway at Belmont?
Yes.
Top 4. Actually, I got to go talk to the teachers over there, which was always good when you get to talk to people who do it. And similar to some of our board members who are on the board, some of the teachers currently in Belmont right now were here when the phase out happened, and they got transferred to other places, and they also came back to that piece. I will say the sentiment that I got from the teachers as a whole is even whatever does happen with this process, they should be included because they are on the ground in that piece. And they know a lot more about that space than any of us in that piece of it. And they had several suggestions too of things to explore. And I will tell you, some of the things they asked for aren't realistic, like getting rid of one of our elementaries. That's not gonna happen. That's bread and butter, right? There's a good time. We do really well, and those schools are heavily populated and they're doing really good things. So that's not a thing. They also brought up to us too, like, why haven't, like, the Belmont population has been expanding for years and we have trends. Why hasn't this board invested in the land, in building kind of onto the school, or building a middle school in this area, or finding a way, a building there to invest in for that piece? And I'm like, that's a great question. Well, I'll take it back to the people who make that recommendation to us, and we'll hear when they bring that to us. So that's some piece of it. And I mean, they had several different things that I do find value in them being in the conversations of how to figure out the space in a sense, since they are the ones who go in there day in and day out, and the rest of us are theorizing about it, and we kind of see it in limited touch points because it is on our radar. So that team of individuals, I would request that our team please bring them to the table, because I mean, they are valued. And I am happy that, again, one of the recommendation of it has changed to this side of, instead of just eliminated, because this would be the second time the individuals were transferred from a thing. And I'm like, that's a lot of commitment for you to stay with us, and we broke up with you once, and then you came back, and then again, we was like, hey, I mean, we had a good thing going. It's not you, it's us in that piece. So I appreciate that they are continuing to work with us in that piece of just trusting that we are going to do right with them in that piece.
I might add, we talked to them as well. Those are some of the things we heard. They also talked about being excited about programming at Belmont and expanding programming that didn't exist. And they talked about also what happens about their job possibilities, and could they be guaranteed jobs after that middle school space was no longer middle school. So Yeah, we don't have a problem at all talking with the staff that are there. We've had one conversation, but we can break that down and have focus groups and have more.
Since we adding on what they also talked about too. Now, they did talk about how much they enjoy working together and how the difference of what you see in a student who goes to Belmont from 7th and 8th grade and goes into the high school, how significantly different those students are than the ones who come in starting in the 9th grade in that piece. And it's like, you just don't understand how vital those 2 years are of that pre-part of then you being able to go over to the big one. But I am happy that you guys are willing to talk to them in that piece. And I know that they talk to us differently.
Yeah,
because
they
we
do.
have
They talk to
different
us
parts
differently.
in the organization.
And the high school teachers are obviously overwhelmingly in support of it because we then free up space and we actually can have a functioning high school with, again, additional programming.
I did not talk to the high school teachers, so I have no idea what they have.
We did, but I know you'll get there.
Mr. Walker, go ahead.
Who determines the space in the building where middle school goes?
Dr. Lawrence and his team, probably.
So your team put them in a one hallway?
We did not. We did not.
No, actually, I can give you some history.
We did
on
not.
what
I
was
see Ms.
learned.
Tingle shaking her head. I did not.
So I'm
Recently-
just-
But what I recently learned, the 2 principals ago, they were on 2 floors, and then they phased up to 1 floor. And by the time the last principal was there, they just kept them in that 1 hallway, and it's just not changed since then.
So
So there's been no imagination yet to kind of what that is. To your point, they kind of just have been moving with the system they were dealt.
Okay, so.
Correct.
Is there possible for the team to get together and look at the system and figure out how to change it?
It's on the board agenda for the board retreat on 26. Come out. You know, bring your friends.
We got a band battle
We'll be
that
here.
day.
We'll be out before that. So yes, it is something on there. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I think where you're moving to kind of goes back to what one of our community members came and spoke about to us, and that's really just clearing the lines of communication. I think these kind of things become something because the lines of communication are blurred everywhere. So people at Belmont and other schools hear one thing. The board hears another thing. The community hears one thing. Staff hears one thing. And so then it comes down to no decisions have really been made, but yet 5 or 6 decisions have already been made, depending on who you talk to. So we stand at a space where the board has not voted on anything, but yet in multiple spaces, from what Mr. Walker said, something was changed on the form. So the form already said 7th graders not going. Then you have teachers that are already wondering if I'm gonna have this job here. And then you have students wondering if I'm off. And so I think where we need a reset as just the district, especially when we talk our part, is making sure we're having the conversations about what is needed on the landscape, not about what the decisions will be, but what the issues are first, and then coming together collaboratively to work on what the solutions will be. And I think that's where we would be better served if we were to say, okay, this is the issue. Belmont's overcrowded, does not have these programs. Now we work on these things and there's conversations around what does that look like, similar to the conversation where it's okay, then maybe do we need to go look at building things? Because what I also don't want, or building or purchasing a space, is for our staff then to be working on plans for months and months, just to come back and go, hey, the board never knew about this and the community never knew about this, because then I don't want them to feel like their work is in vain. Or, you know, because we have people that have been doing those things. We have, I know Dr. Jones has been looking at space. When we had the conversations last year about the alternative school, that was one of the conversations about there was an opportunity to purchase another building there. So I think we would be better served in these spaces if we spend the time on the front end doing the communications and doing the problem solving instead of moving and maneuvering while we're in spaces to cover the things that we've already told other people. And I think that's happened not only just in this situation, but in other buildings, and it's happened in other spaces where people have been told what's going to happen without any board action being done, any work being done to make those things done. And I think that's where you then create a lack of trust, to where if we're saying the board has not moved anything, but yet a person in the community can come up to you and say, hey, my child is in 6th grade, wanting to go to 7th grade, it says Belmont's not on there, what's going down? And now you have this disconnect where a community member is telling a board member about something that a board member may have no clue about, and all that will do is breed a lack of trust and a lack of communication around the district. So I think as we move into these spaces, using those times like the retreat and things to really, from our leadership side, explain to us what are the issues you guys see on the horizon, and then what are some of the solutions you're proposing, so that then we can do that work of looking into it, talking to the community, and now we're not trying to come up with changes or solutions or revisions to make people happy, but we're coming up with things that even if people are not happy about, they can say that they knew about beforehand. That's all.
All right, any other comments on Belmont?
Uh,
Go ahead, Mr. Lacy.
Can nutrition services take into consideration the overcrowded building as it redesigns? You're just redesigning a kitchen, right? Or not the cafeteria? You can't do anything with the cafeteria with
Slice
with
that thing up.
006? You just tables you could do something with, or?
You gotta come to the mic. The people at home can't hear you. That's why we supposed to have a mic right here.
Yeah, we need
You
a,
gotta pass around.
we need a Ricky Lake mic. Walk around with it.
So cafeteria tables are something that we can provide, which is my next project that I have in my mind once we start getting some of this other stuff really rolling. I don't want to do these nice designs everywhere and have tables that are 20 years old. Plus, we do have a lot of schools that don't have enough tables, or I've seen broken seats. So I really just want to start working on seating. So yes, we should be able to at least provide more tables at Belmont.
But yeah, you're not going to add on to the building for your.
I wish we could.
Okay, that's all.
Mr. Scott has something to say.
Go ahead, Mr. Scott.
If we stop with this whole cafeterium stuff and we actually had, you know, a stage for Belmont and also for Thurgood too, and a dedicated like cafeteria.
That's
like,
right.
Why did we put the cafeteria in like the auditorium together?
Ooh, I got somebody you can talk
That's
to.
a show. That's
Like
a-
they already have the
Board
seniors
member
and stuff
Lacy's
sitting on the
board
stage
is
at Belmont.
Lacey was here.
Now, Mr. Lacy was against it, but
I
his board
was.
did that.
I saved one auditorium.
If you go into the, if you
I
go
know
into
y'all were
the
trying to
building,
save some
you'll
money
see.
with that, but no.
I saved Wright Brothers. That's all I
He
can
did all he
say.
could to try.
And did say Wright Brothers.
When you go in and see that plaque with those names on it,
You see Mr. Lacy on
you
everything.
see
You
Mr.
go,
Lacy's
"Mr.
name
Lacy."
right there.
But he
And
fought.
you can ask
He
those
fought.
other people, because I do not like cafetoriums either.
But we agree with you that it should be a little bit separate. Unfortunately, we were not the people here at the time, except for Mr. Lacy, and he fought a good fight. But he saved one, which if you go to Wright Brothers, you can see.
I went to
Oh, wow.
See, thank Mr. Lacy for that auditorium.
Did that.
Mr. Scott, how did you feel about Belmont having middle school?
I mean, it was weird because it was like forbidden to go into that hallway, but I mean, it never affected me. I just feel like how many students could you truly fit in that one hallway, and is it as significant enough to even have the middle school program there? Like, if there's only like 100 middle schoolers at Belmont, like, yeah, it's gonna be 100 more students at Wright Brothers, but like, is it that important to have 100 middle schoolers at Belmont just to say that you have them there?
It's like 270 something, but
Yeah, see, that's not enough for me. I think we
I
can
just
have.
want you to know.
You couldn't even put that. You couldn't even take those kids and create a new middle school. Like, you would have to have more kids.
It's not our smallest middle school. I want you to know that. Charity Adams is our smallest middle school.
Okay, well, let's go to Charity Adams and we can extend it a little bit. and then add that 250.
They need more space though. Okay, they got middle school in there.
It's okay.
Oh my God.
It's okay.
What's the name? 712.
All right, Rivers
They have
Edge.
the same as Stivers. Okay, any other comments on Belmont?
No.
All right, second discussion is Rivers Edge. So we heard last month about the wanting to add the middle school to adding the 7th grade this year, I believe it was, and then next year the 8th grade. And I believe the takeaways from the last meeting too were this was for the 6th grade that is there right now going up. It was stated to us that other individuals wouldn't be able to transfer into the school because it's kind of building on what they already have right there. So that was all I recall from the last meeting. Is there anything you want to add?
Nope.
All right, so the floor is open for discussion.
Chief Spurlock, so the last meeting you had said that there was 2 classrooms identified for 7th grade. What happens when they go to 8th grade?
Do we not have another mic, guys? They all on their phone, they can't hear me.
That's gonna be.
He heard you, that's why.
Mr. Scott, Mr. Scott can float around with his mic.
Oh, man, it just go like this.
See, you can float around with your mic, Mr. Scott.
Come on, man, be a team player.
You gotta be a team player.
Ms. Spurlock having to come all the way around every time.
You can have my microphone.
Hello. It depends on how many students actually want to stay and join. Our classroom sizes at River's Edge are 25 per. Currently, we have 39 6th graders. When the parents were surveyed, right now about 30 parents are interested, with an additional several that are waiting to hear what the board's decision is. So it could be 2 classrooms, it could be 1, depending on how many students actually stay. So if we do, then we go. Our thoughts are, we really want to just continue to grow. We have looked, and I'm sure Dr. Lawrence will actually talk about our plans, and that we've looked at other buildings to talk about how can we grow a middle school, a Montessori program within Dayton Public Schools.
So you said 30 are interested or aren't interested?
30 are interested out of the 39.
So out of the 39, 30 are interested. How many of those 30 are interested and have already committed to going to Stivers?
So we have, those are those other 9, some that got into Stivers and some that just auditioned last weekend. So they're kind of waiting. That's why those are, I don't want to quite commit right now.
Yeah, I guess I'm just, I guess I would really be curious to see how this will affect those students who look forward to going to Stivers to now, this is an out for you to stay. And if I stay at River's Edge for another 2 years, will I then get admitted to Stivers for high school? And what that turnaround looks like? And again, will we lose those students in the end?
Right. So I will tell you this, the parents that I spoke to, those that got into Stivers wanted to go into Stivers. Those that did not, those students wanted to go to River's Edge, the ones that I spoke to. So they were kind of waiting to see what is the decision of the April 3rd to make their final decisions. Several of the families that we spoke to at our parent meeting had already committed to other schools other than Dayton Public Schools. And those parents said, I would prefer to stay at River's Edge for 7th grade instead of going to a charter school.
Other thoughts on the floor? Go ahead, Board Member Ryan.
My biggest concern is just space. It is a fantastic idea, but I want to be very intentional about making sure that we are not overshooting our desire to serve these students in a different way and not actually having the capacity that we think that we have. So I will just put that out there.
Absolutely. I don't know if Dr. Lawrence wanted to share some of the things that we've already done to investigate the matter.
Well, I say operations has worked with us to look at several different properties to think about the expansion of River's Edge as a Montessori school. And in fact, Montessori Middle School open to students from all over. I think Meg Thomas, who's a former principal, left us with a middle school Montessori plan on her way to retirement and still continues to work with us as a consultant. And I just went to look at a property in Dr. Jones's absence yesterday that I was given a tip on by our board president, Dr. Goodwine. So we continue to add a portfolio of places where we can kind of create this new space, this new middle school space on the east side.
Dr. Lawrence, we have some Montessori programming in our international school, but it's just for a small portion of the students that go there. Montessori doesn't work for everybody. It works for a lot of kids. My brother was a Montessori dropout, and he's a thriving adult. It's not for everybody. Not every educational model is for every child. I am grateful for the wealth of opportunity we have, and understanding that every child is different, and we serve them where they are. The thing about Montessori is it is more expensive. There are additional materials. It costs additional financial restraints in terms of funding for salaries. Montessori teachers are trained at a higher level than regular teachers, and so they cost more. Can we have a conversation among the board about if we see a model that works, can we duplicate it in a larger fashion, perhaps on the other side of town or in another school building? I think that Montessori middle school is a great idea, and I love having that conversation. Do we have the resources? Do we have the ability to attract staff to a school, another Montessori school? Cincinnati has a number of Montessori public schools, and right now, we used to have 3. They were consolidated. We used to have Patterson, we used to have Horace Mann and Franklin, and then they were consolidated in another Rivers Edge. I would love to see if there's an ability to expand it.
The staff does currently have plans that we've drawn up to, we will present to the board during the retreat around Montessori on the west side and Montessori Elementary. In addition, we have investigated the Montessori that's in the international school, and it's not being implemented with fidelity. I think when it was started, it was a measure or a way to have the students from the community make sure there was a space for them. What we're noticing is that there could be an inclination to kind of have those spaces integrated so that we could then move to an ELL model or a dual language model, rather, so that the students that are there from the neighborhood got a chance to interact and participate in dual language with the kids that are there. These are just ideas that we have, but the Montessori piece at the international school, it's not, it does not look like Rivers Edge.
I will say, I love the idea of expanding, because I know that has been a constant endpoint for people in our district when they get to 6th grade and they leave because we don't. Again, our middle schools are improving, but they have not improved to the rate where people know kind of good things, which is why we try to highlight more of them here when we come to these meetings and that piece. The area of concern for me is the certified teacher number, because we are constantly all out trying to improve that across our secondary. And I don't think Rivers Edge will have an issue whatsoever getting a certified 7th and then 8th grade teacher, how you do that piece. But I wonder what that takes away from on schools that we are trying to bring up to par in that piece of it. So that part, and I'll share Board Member Reiner's concern with not only the space of the building, because, and it was nice to hear the 2023 word fidelity back on the floor twice in one day. It's been a minute since, I thought y'all switched up to intentional this year. It's good to hear that one again. It pulled that one out your back pocket. But yeah, that piece of us being able to ensure that if this is an add-on, that we don't lose what we have, because I know we have a new principal that's only in her first year there in that team, and seeing that growth piece of just making sure that you don't lose by adding and you aren't moving too swiftly. I hate to hear that people are going to leave our district if we don't move in that way, but that's just been a reality for us, because even though we're working at a fast pace, people don't see it all of how things are improving in some of our middle schools and where that piece is going to it. So that's my thoughts. You got one, Ms. Hood? Let's see. All right, any other thoughts?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Bailey.
No, this is
Oh, I thought you said yes.
It was you, Bailey.
You said yes too. He was like, yeah.
Go
ahead, Dr.
Did you want to say, Bailey? I appreciate the discussion. I think for me, it's really about where we choose to put our priorities. That's the biggest thing for me. I think I don't want us to recreate some of the same things that have happened. where we have programs, and then instead of finding ways to improve, we insulate and you get smaller and smaller. I mean, that is how we ended up with just kind of, that's over time, that's how we get there. Like when I grew up, the Montessori school was the huge school in Dayton View, Jefferson Montessori. Over time, if students don't want to go there, then we find another space for them to go, and then Jefferson gets demolished down the road, and it's just that space. We see that. We see that from Colonel White leading to why we have Stivers. And so I don't want us to keep recreating that thing where if we have parents at a River's Edge that say they would rather stay here than leave the district, I would much rather put work in to really get to the core of what would make them stay instead of saying, okay, let's create this so you stay here for 2 more years, and we still haven't created a fix for if they'll just leave after 8th grade instead of after 6th grade. And so we save a good 30 kids from leaving. Meanwhile, we have hundreds that are in a system where they're yearning for more. And so when I look at that, I look at, you could probably do the same and have the same conversation with parents from Horace Mann that would say, hey, if I could stay at Horace Mann for 7th and 8th grade, I would. If I could stay at Kemp, I would. If I could stay at Cleveland, I would. And I don't want us to get into that space because then you just end up creating a whole bunch of K through 8s everywhere again. So I think it behooves us to really look and say, what are the things, the qualities at a River's Edge that make someone want to be there? What qualities can we replicate in a school that makes a family feel like that is a space that they would want their child to be? And in that time, I do think it's going to take, at some point, we're going to have to look at creating a new space somewhere. Because we're not going to get there keeping 25 to 30 here, keeping 17, 18 there. It's going to take that, so I'm encouraged that we're looking at those spaces. But we have to be mindful of that, and then be mindful of just transportation is a barrier for folks. Being comfortable in your neighborhood is a real thing. Comfortable in your family, in your environment, the people that you're around. So I think diving into all of those things, to me, would set us up better for success down the road when we try to do these things than instead of trying to instantly implement things. I know we just had a vote on the alternative school, which I hope we come up with a name because I don't want to call it the alternative school. This just sounds like a dumping ground for people. But that's going to take work. That's not going to be something you're going to instantly wave a magic wand and have done. And so doing that at the same time as changing this building and changing that building, to borrow the word that you just tried to bring back to our lexicon, are we going to really be able to do it with fidelity if we do those things?
4th time today for fidelity.
So I had to look down at him and see him use it. But that's my thought, is that the thought that we're using in this space, to me, is more of a parents want to stay here, and if they do not have here, then they will leave the district, where that's a real thing throughout the district. I mean, it's not like River's Edge is the only place we're going to lose elementary kids to middle school. They're already leaving in 5th grade to go to the STEM school. They're leaving before they get to middle school. So, I mean, and then I think also we have to understand we're in a business. It's a business of getting students sometimes. And we have to understand that, because that's what dollars also come in at. And look at some of the places. Look at parents. Talk to parents. Get in community groups and see, hey, why did you send your kid to DECA or to the STEM school or to Alter or to Carroll? Why did you want to leave this space? And when we really get in there and dive in there and use that data and then come up with answers for what we need to do to keep a higher number of people here. And I promise I won't say nothing else the rest of the day.
Just like Walker won't ask a question.
I closed my laptop.
All right, any other comments on it, Mr. Lacy?
No, I'm not, I was just listening. I mean, actually, another contribution is actually the buildings were designed for pre-K 8s.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ms. Wick, anything? So what do you need from us, Dr. Lawrence?
Need you to vote.
You want us to vote?
Yeah. Because we want to move on to something else. I need you to vote.
All right, we gotta put a recommendation for us to vote.
Can
It's
you,
not a recommendation there, it's just conversation.
I mean, you have to give us a vote.
yeah, can you change that to vote?
Can I have a 48-hour waiver, please? And what would you like it to say?
River's Edge, we're going to move to pre-K through 7, moving on to pre-K through 8 the next year.
Same thing for Belmont?
Let's sit on Belmont for right now.
Can we just do pre-K to 7 for now and move on?
Sure.
And not say pre-K to 8? I would like to not commit to pre-K to 8 the following year. I want to do the pre-K to 7 thoroughly first, and then we can have the conversation of moving it to pre-K 8. Does that make sense?
She's asking if that would be your recommendation, Dr. Lawrence.
That's fine.
Thank you.
He's accepted that.
That's it, no.
So moved.
Are we moving a 48-hour waiver?
We got a 48-hour waiver. So
Oh,
first,
so I gotta wait for.
I was waiting for it to hop up there so we can do a 48-hour waiver.
Nobody's,
We're waiting.
nothing's happened yet.
Yeah. Well, we know what's gonna happen. They technically record it, so we could just go.
Yes,
Huh?
I mean, you know it by heart.
Well,
Requesting the
I mean, you
You
have
gotta-
to
Can I,
request the 48-hour
can I make a
waiver.
motion to remove the 48-hour waiver for voting on restructuring River's Edge?
Sure.
So I've made that motion.
There's a message. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Board Member Reiner, second by Board Member Lacy. Any questions on the motion? This is removing the 48-hour waiver to vote on it. All right, seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yeah.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
8 yeses.
All right, Dr. Lawrence, your recommendation.
I don't have any more today.
No, you have
No,
to
you
make
gotta
the
do that.
Have a
recommendation.
recommendation.
I thought y'all moved to get
No.
to.
We got moved to 48-hour waiver.
want something. Yeah, look at that,
Think that was a
he got a
7-0
vote.
vote? You know this ain't about to be-
Ain't no 7-0 vote, my
You
guy.
know this ain't about to be a 7-0 vote.
I moved to take the language. Yeah, you're right. What am I thinking? I moved to take. Yeah, what am I thinking? I moved to take the language by Ms. Board Member Reiner around restructuring River's Edge to go pre-K through 7 this year.
You recommend?
I recommend. Thank
All
you.
right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Dr. Bailey. Any questions on the motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Dr. Lawrence, so if you're saying pre-K through 7, you're essentially then would be telling people that their students would be in limbo again next year, right? Because they would then have to then go to an 8th grade unless the board comes back and votes to add an 8th grade on again.
We'd have to do this again. Yeah, we would.
That's
Not
so
something I
extra.
want to do, but we'd have to do it.
That's so extra.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
No.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
No.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
You got your 4.
All
4
right.
yeses, 3 no. Oh, Mr.
Oh, Mr.
Scott.
Scott.
But,
Abstain?
Abstain? So can I ask a question then on that? If 10 kids say that they want to stay, what happens?
Then we have a 7th grade with 10
It's the
kids.
same thing we did with Charity Adams, when we added 7th and 8th grade there.
How's that going, Karen?
No, we
It's
added,
going great.
it's actually a little different. Charity Adams had a population.
Yes, it's different. They didn't have
But,
population
all
of
right,
the same.
can we,
leaving,
the
which we
votes
don't
happen
have.
though, can we move?
Yeah, we done.
Yeah.
I was just,
All right, let the Let the record
But it's
show.
okay.
Y'all ready?
Need to cater to the parents there.
All right. Let the record show that the Board of Education of the Dayton City School District has just completed an executive session during which
We
it
have
considered.
completed.
Oh, my bad, I'm reading the wrong one. That's the first one I clicked on. Oh, you know what? That was the first one that's, they both, it say exit at first. I clicked on it. Appreciate you though.
Did my job.
About time you did. Pursuant to section 121.22G2 of the Ohio Revised Code, I move that this board go into executive session. This meeting is being held to consider the employment of a public employee and consider and confer with an attorney involving pending or imminent court action.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
8 yeses.
All right, let's go.
Call me.